Chen is a regressor who just returned from a brutal future where demons conquered the entire world. He survived alone, fought for years. Finally, he blew himself up to slay the Demon King. But after a blinding flash, he wakes up right inside his old college dorm. He is totally confused, wondering if this is somehow the afterlife. Yet when he looks out the window and spots normal people standing there, slowly, the reality of it all sinks in. We are talking about a full-on second chance at life. He traveled 10 years back in time to his college days. Right then, a weird hologram flashes, telling Chen that his gluttony power is fully integrated. Staring out, he realizes he only has 3 years left before the first demon lord, Wrath, descends to Earth. He clearly remembers how this specific demon lord triggered the end of everything. Wrath was the monster who opened the Hell Gates, letting the other demon lords invade the human world one by one. So Chen makes a choice. He must locate Wrath and slaughter him before those gates can even open. Shaking off the heavy thoughts, Chen focuses on the floating system screen right beside him. It is glowing with his stats. He wonders if it is a game menu, because he never had a system like this in his past life. Back then, he only relied on his awakened talent, a rare gift that only 1 in 10,000 people had. The National Awakener University was built for these elites, but when Chen attended the first time, he completely failed to awaken. He became an easy target for bullies, which explains why he just woke up in the clinic. Suddenly, his screen pops open to reveal a rare lightning-type assassin card. It is his old class from his past life. Seriously, how insane is it that he is awakening this early? He wants to test it immediately, but then bang. His roommate Ma Long walks right in, stopping him. Ma Long is just a weak E-rank flower chanter. Bandages cover his face. He came to check on Chen. Fortunately, Ma Long can't see the floating panels at all. Only Chen has access to this interface. His roommate stares, amazed that Chen's wounds are completely gone. He is confused how an unawakened guy heals faster than an active awakener like himself. Chen remembers Ma Long well. In his past life, his roommate barely managed to awaken back in college. He remained incredibly weak. Then, tragedy struck. He was brutally slaughtered 3 days after Wrath's descent. Looking at his old buddy, Chen smiles softly, but the peace is brief. Ma Long reminds him their rank test is tomorrow. Ma Long feels pretty bad. He assumes Chen is still completely powerless, but warns him this test is their only ticket to graduation. Walking down the busy streets, Chen notes how long it's been since he saw so many living people. That comment completely freaks Ma Long out. Chen knows that if he stands by and does nothing, everyone around him will face that exact same horrifying end. To prevent that, he must train insanely hard and level up fast. But there is one major roadblock in his way. Right now, the only way for an awakener to gain experience points is by slaughtering monsters deep inside demon layers. But these layers are completely locked down by major guilds, meaning weak, unguided outsiders have almost zero chance of growing. He pulls up his status menu, carefully reviewing his stats to see how he stacks up against regular awakeners. The global government ranks all awakeners, ranging from lowly E class all the way up to legendary S class. Chen knows almost every student here is stuck at E rank, with only a tiny elite group reaching D rank. He looks over at Ma Long and quietly laughs to himself, feeling extremely confident that he is already much stronger than his friend. Suddenly, a stray ball flies out of nowhere and strikes Ma Long right in the face, completely shattering his glasses. Turns out, they just ran into the local bully Gong Chun and his goons, the exact same trash who beat them bloody yesterday. Gong Chun sneers, asking why they didn't bring over some cold drinks when they clearly knew his crew was practicing here. Ma Long immediately starts apologizing, reaching for his wallet, but Chen grabs his hand. He coldly tells Gong Chun that he is the one who needs to bow and apologize. Staring at this garbage bully pulls Chen straight back into a dark, painful memory. In the past, they tried to drown him in a sink. Instead of feeling bad, they laughed, claiming they were just helping him awaken. They only stopped when Chen finally blacked out from lack of air. Ma Long ran to save him, but the moment Gong Chun heard Chen's voice, he marched right back to beat him even worse. Blinking back to the present, Chen decides it is time to show these cowards what real pain feels like. Hearing Chen talk back, Gong Chun and his thugs step up, fully prepared to beat him into permanent silence. Chen stares right at Chung, knowing this bully only preys on the weak because his big brother is the student council president. As Chung steps closer, a crowd of curious students begins to gather. They already feel sorry for Chen, expecting him to get brutally beaten up again. When Chung gets in his face and asks what he just said, Chen doesn't flinch. He calmly repeats that they need to back off from now on. Absolutely furious, Chung completely loses his temper and throws a punch straight at him. Now watch this. Chen casually raises his hand, blocking the strike effortlessly before shoving the bully backward. The crowd goes dead silent. As far as anyone knows, Chen hasn't even awakened yet, but he just brushed off a heavy blow like it was absolutely nothing. Losing his mind with rage, Chung charges back in. Chen stays completely calm, quickly switching his class over to Electric Assassin. Long stands nearby, completely stunned, while Chung activates his indestructible demon armor and charges forward with a massive, heavy strike. But before Chung can even get close, Chen dashes forward and blasts him away with a deadly, lightning-charged punch. Nobody can believe their eyes. The kid they called a weakling just sent the school bully flying with one single blow. Even after taking a devastating hit, Chung refuses to give up. He frantically screams at his lackeys to jump in and get revenge. But his underlings are already shaking in pure terror after seeing Chen's unreal power. Chung drags himself back up and desperately charges again. But once again, he gets utterly crushed and slammed away without standing a single chance. Seeing their boss get absolutely demolished, the lackeys quickly realize they stand zero chance and run for their lives. Long stands there, completely speechless. His jaw drops as he struggles to comprehend how his roommate, who was easily beaten just yesterday, is suddenly this strong. Meanwhile, Chen realizes that just like in his previous life, he can activate his assassin's state whenever he wants. Even at level 1, his base stats are high enough to crush low-level awakeners. This means his current rank must be at least D-class. But there is still one crucial thing he needs to confirm. Even after defeating an opponent, the system hasn't granted him a level up. Think about this for a second. Chen steps forward to finish the bully off completely, making the panicked crowd hold their breath. At the very last second, the student council's vice president, Ling Yu, steps in and tells Chen to stop. She reminds him that even though Chung started this, a beating like this is already more than enough. She promises him that the bully won't dare to trouble him ever again. Hearing this, Chen finally decides to let him off. But as he steps back, he wonders why the student council is so desperate to protect a guy like Chung. Even though Chen was just putting on a show and had no plans to kill him, he knows bullies like Chung still need a serious lesson. Otherwise, they'll just keep picking on the weak over and over. Chen then walks away with his stunned roommate. Watching from the shadows, the bullies' lackeys whisper to each other that they should never, ever provoke Chen again. That night, Long tries to explain to their roommates how Chen awakened as an insanely overpowered lightning assassin, but nobody takes him seriously. He keeps rambling about how their once weak friend absolutely demolished the school bully, but Xiang Zuo, an E-ranked nucleus mage, laughs it off. He asks why Chen is still running around training like a maniac if he's actually such a big deal. He argues that a real awakener wouldn't need to waste time on basic physical training anymore. Hearing this, their gamer roommate, Xiang Yu, jokes that it sounds like Long must have taken a serious blow to the head. Zuo keeps complaining that they are stuck in this dorm because they're the absolute weakest bottom feeders, and nothing they do will ever change that. He even boasts that he's the strongest of the four, claiming Long and Yu are nothing but useless support chanters. He flexes his magic, assuring himself there's absolutely no way Chen could have actually become a legendary lightning assassin. Feeling more confident than ever, he hopes he might even level up during their final graduation test tomorrow. Meanwhile, at an E-ranked demon lair, the student council president, Gongting, finishes his training session and walks out with Ling Yu. He notices his younger brother standing there and asks what he wants. Chung complains that as long as the guy who beat him is still around, he can't even sleep peacefully. He keeps begging his older brother to get revenge for him. Ting calmly promises that he'll handle the entire mess. Later, sitting at the dining table, the vice president asks Ting how he plans to handle this situation. Ting simply asks her if the kid is actually as strong as his brother claims. Ling Yu reminds Ting that there are fewer than 10 D-ranked students in the entire school, and he's already recruited every single one. She points out that other students don't even have access to demon lairs like they do, meaning no average guy should be able to match him. Back outside, Chen keeps running like crazy while getting completely drenched under the pouring rain. He aims to run 20 full kilometers while lugging a bag packed with 100 kilograms, pretty much twice his own body weight. He knows exactly how crucial this basic training is to push an awakener's limits, since a fragile body can't handle high-tier abilities. Pounding the pavement, he remembers his sister, his only family, brutally taken when the Demon King Wrath first invaded the human world. That monster slaughtered countless humans in a single blink, and his sister died right before his eyes. That horrific moment started all this chaos, making the Demon King's demise his ultimate obsession. Chen knows that the Demon Lord is already gathering massive power, even with 3 years left until his arrival. To survive, Chen must grow stronger at a breakneck pace. But right then, his phone rings. His sister Siyun is calling. Hearing her voice again after so many years leaves him utterly speechless. She mentions she was too busy with a major tournament to call, but if she wins a prize, their overdue rent might finally be paid off. As she rambles, Chen just smiles. Deep down, he makes a silent vow to protect her and provide the peaceful life she truly deserves this time. Hanging up, he pushes right back into training, hammering out 3 extra laps around the campus. Once he finishes, he heads straight for the shower, feeling his younger body slowly adapt to this high potential for growth. He sits down to think about the demon lairs, areas only rich elites can enter. To farm strength, he has to find a way to slay monsters, Lost in thought, he eventually drifts off to sleep, only to find himself violently pulled into the gluttony system. Honestly, if you got suddenly pulled in here, you would think this was just a really twisted nightmare too. Meanwhile, back outside, Long searches for Chen, utterly confused about where the guy suddenly went. Inside this void, a colossal tower looms directly ahead. But before he can even study it, a pack of E-rank cloud warriors known as Death Hounds spawns to greet him. Realizing he might have accidentally slipped into a demon lair, Chen quickly swaps his class. Since these beasts spawned out of nowhere, he decides to slaughter them first and ask questions later. He easily tears through the weak hounds, realizing they are total pushovers, before vacuuming up their dropped items. He hits level 2 in a flash and grins, thinking he might have hit the jackpot by stumbling into this demon lair. Right on cue, a massive boss monster spawns, but Chen crushes it with zero effort. Slicing straight through the beast, he levels up once more. The massive experience points he gains from this boss completely dwarf those weaker hounds from earlier. Suddenly, the boss's corpse glows with a system prompt labeled devourable, leaving Chen highly intrigued. Recalling the unique gluttony skill from his status panel, he reaches out his hand to test things out. The absorption finishes in a split second, condensing the beast into a glowing card. Chen is utterly shocked he can turn defeated monsters into usable classes. Then it hits him, this is the exact same terrifying power the Demon Lord Lan Yu possessed. Realizing he shares a power with a supreme Demon Lord leaves him visibly shaken. Normally, people get one class at birth, while elite geniuses might hold two. But Chen, he can collect as many classes as he damn well pleases. He questions where this absurd power came from, and what that ominous dark tower ahead of him truly represents. As those thoughts swirl, an oppressive presence descends as a new demon emerges clutching dual S-rank blades. It is a genuine S-rank threat, meaning Chen has absolutely zero chance of winning. Despite being completely outclassed, Chen still manifests a crackling lightning sword to fight back and wager everything on survival. And get this, the terrifying demon looming over him actually knows his real name. The demon easily trades blows with him, but it is painfully obvious that the beast is just playing around. Deliberately dodging his vital organs, it repeatedly bashes him into the dirt. After breaking Chen's limits, the monster finally opens its mouth. It demands that Chen guard the tower alongside it to survive. When Chen spits on the offer, the demon brutally cleaves his arm. Threatening to end his life, the monster explains it only held back because Chen is the sole human who could ever reach this void. Urging him to reconsider, the demon watches, but Chen refuses to let his hope shatter. Rejecting the offer once more, he ignores the mortal danger, lets out a fierce battle cry, and charges head-on to strike the fiend. Throughout this chaotic clash, Chen has been closely reading the demon's motions, tracking a 0.4-second delay before each slash. He knows he can exploit that tiny window of opportunity, watching the monster's wrist angle to execute a flawless dodge. Plus, he spotted a 0.2-second pause where the beast stands defenseless. He targets that split-second opening to aim directly for its heart, but even if he lands this insane gamble, a D-rank like him cannot hope to defeat an S-rank power. His real play here is simply to paralyze the beast just long enough to escape. He does exactly that, sprinting toward the only glow he can see in the darkness, praying it is a way out, but just as he reaches it, poof, it vanishes. The demon laughs, calling it a cruel illusion. There is absolutely no exit in this dark place. Turns out, this whole palace is not actually a demon lair. Still, the beast praises Chen for spotting the flaws in its attacks incredibly fast. It reveals its true form, the Purgatory Rakshasa. It tells Chen that he is somehow their only source of hope. But as Chen gets a closer look at the beast, he freezes. He realizes he has seen this exact face before on the Demon Lord Lan Yu. He flashes back to the final battle before his time travel. That opponent was no ordinary beast. During their fierce struggle, it first transformed into a massive dragon. Then it kept shifting into other terrifying high-tier monsters, unleashing boiling magma, deadly vines, and crazy strong lightning. But out of all those forms, the one that caught his eye looked identical to the beast standing right here. That is when a crazy thought hits him. Every single transformation belonged to Demon King Lan Yu. Since that power is now resting inside him, this demon must be the strength of gluttony absorbed into his own body. This quick guess completely blows it away. It calmly tells him that he is quite worthy of taking over the massive power of this entire dimension. Chen frowns, pretty confused by what that actually means. Suddenly, a golden void key appears, which is the only way to unlock the towering fortress behind him. The demon explains that Lan Yu devoured countless powerful monsters. Its job was to guard the massive prison trapping the absolute strongest of those monsters. Now, it hands the key straight to him. Rakshasa wants him to devour those demons, grow insanely strong, and inherit this mission. Confused, Chen asks why on earth a demon would help a human. The beast simply replies that even among demons, there are good guys and bad guys. One wicked beast wiped out its entire clan just for fun. Since that day, it has been waiting to get its ultimate revenge. Now, It has finally found the perfect warrior to settle the score. It tells Chen that someone was right about him being their best shot. Intrigued, Chen asks who that person is. The demon sounds like some ancient sage, simply saying that all of his answers are waiting right inside that giant tower. With its fading breath, it offers him all of its remaining energy, demanding that he become the most powerful human on Earth. It won't be easy devouring every single wild beast hiding inside this towering prison. The demon leaves him with a warning: only someone with a desperate hunger for power is worthy of wielding the true strength of the Purgatory Rakshasa. That is the burning drive needed to wipe out every single demon king. With those final words, its body melts into a blazing orb of raw energy, flowing directly into Chen. Boom! Chen instantly levels up 8 times, claiming 2 of Rakshasa's legendary twin swords. He accepts the mission without a second thought, swearing to honor the fallen warrior's dream. Along with insane stat boosts, he unlocks the power to control gravity and absorbs strength from the dead. Bright and early, he opens his eyes back in his regular dorm room, totally normal. But he jumps straight out of bed when a loud voice yells. His roommates are already dressed, screaming at him to hurry up if he doesn't want to be late for school. With his body completely healed, he wonders if that wild adventure was just a dream. But his stats prove it. Now watch this: he went from level 2 to 10 overnight, leaving him wondering what his rank is now. Suddenly, his roommate starts teasing him. He brings up how someone was bragging about Chen last night, saying how incredibly strong he supposedly became. Ma Long just quietly peeks over, acting completely innocent. Either way, his roommate dares him to prove it during the ranking test. That trial decides who gets to keep the title of Dorm King. Walking to class, the self-proclaimed Dorm King proudly explains that every single rank is split into 3 separate tiers. So, even though they are all E ranks, he is a proud mid-tier E rank, placing him way above the bottom feeder losers. He struts around looking pretty superior, claiming the gap between each tier is absolutely massive. Fired up and way too confident, the guy boasts that he has definitely advanced a level since their last trial. Super annoyed, Ma Long tells Chen to stop playing around and aim for D rank today, hoping it will finally shut the loudmouth up. At school, they find a pretty nervous crowd of students gathered for the ranking ceremony. Suddenly, the school bullies strut in like they own the place, tossing insults at anyone who dares look their way. Even the Dorm King's confident smirk completely vanishes the second he spots them. Meanwhile, those arrogant bullies instantly lose their cool. They immediately start bowing down to Big Brother Chen with absolute respect. Seeing this, his roommates slowly realize that maybe Ma Long was actually telling the truth. Our boy totally ignores the trash and just minds his own business. But then another student blocks his path. It is Jian, a student council enforcer who acts like school police, and he gives Chen a rather polite warning. Turns out, the student council president personally sent him to punish the punk who dared lay hands on his little brother. And just like that, Chen's friends scatter to hide. They are absolutely terrified of Jian, the enforcer who handles the president's dirty work. The roommates cannot comprehend why this D-rank monster is targeting Chen. He steps right into Chen's personal space. The president's lapdog brags that his sharp sense of smell lets him judge exactly how strong someone is. Right now, he claims Chen smells like a weak, pathetic loser. Amused by the insult, Chen fires right back. He completely loses his cool the moment he gets compared to a stray dog. But before a real fight can break out, the president himself orders him to stand down. After doing some digging, he realized his little brother was actually the one who picked this fight in the first place. Getting thrashed was just what happens when you pick a fight with someone way out of your league. The president shoots Chen a glare sharper than daggers, but our hero does not look intimidated in the slightest. Right then, a professor announces that the rank assessment ceremony is officially starting. He tells the students to step forward as names are called, prompting the president to lead his lapdog away. He figures this was just a one-time mistake and that Chen will behave after receiving a warning. Watching from high above, a man asks the vice president why she decided to attend the ranking ceremony today. He wonders if a certain rookie caught her eye. The lady just smiles, murmuring that this year will be quite interesting. Soon, Shang Zhou's called. The nervous Dorm King takes a deep breath and steps through the door. Now watch this, the vibe shifts completely inside this creepy demon lair where they test everyone one by one. Inside, a weird demon heart hooked to wires measures an awakener's rank and potential by absorbing their raw energy. The moment the awakener releases their full power, the signal fires back to Earth to display their results. The Dorm King's final rank turns out to be exactly the same as last time, but the professor looks pretty confused when the potential score takes longer than expected. Ma Long stares intently at those shifting numbers. After all that buildup, Shang Zhou's maximum potential is revealed to be a mere C. He walks out looking absolutely crushed, realizing his supposed progress was all in his head. His roommates try to cheer him up, reminding him they are all stuck in the exact same boat anyway. Every single one of them is stuck at E rank with the potential to reach C rank at best. A few moments later, the president's lapdog struts out. He is still a lower D rank, but his potential score climbs all the way to A rank. Chen's roommates start losing hope after seeing nearly 10 other students easily reach D rank. Even the academy professors are pretty shocked that so many rookies have already reached D rank. It is incredibly rare for students without real combat experience to break past E rank. Thrilled by the results, they call the next name. It is the student council president, carrying heavy expectations on his shoulders. All eyes turn to Gong Ting, already a guild master, as he steps up. Meanwhile, Chen stays totally calm, patiently waiting for his own turn. Everyone at the school knows Gong Ting was just a lower D rank 2 years ago. Since the school's record has always been capped at middle D rank, everyone wonders if the president will finally raise the bar. Inside the demon lair, the demon heart's eyes slowly open. Even though Gong Ting cannot unleash his full power yet, he still wants to go out with a bang at graduation, carving his name into the history books as the absolute #1. When the professors see his potential grade glowing a bright gold, they blink in utter disbelief. And let me tell you, Gong Ting's actual high D rank leaves everyone absolutely breathless. Not only that, but wild excitement erupts at the sight of the first potential S rank in school history. The president's lackeys praise their boss nonstop. Even Chen's roommates burn with pure envy as they watch this living legend being born right before their eyes. The professors quietly agree that this insane news must be sent to the high-ranking administration immediately. They must treat their precious S-rank candidate with the utmost care, making sure he never leaves the country. Plus, he is the youngest student in the academy to join a professional guild. Their school's name is now guaranteed to dominate the headlines. Looking down from above, Principal Yuan Long realizes Vice President Ling Yu already knew all about his massive potential. The exact reason she showed up in person, just to watch. But she keeps things interesting by revealing he isn't the only student she has her eyes on today. Behind that flashy president, there is someone else she finds way more intriguing. And right on cue, that very student gets called up to the stage. Jean gets this brilliant idea and decides to openly mock the school's legendary ghost story, warning him not to end up as E-rank trash like his roommates. He says they will become a total laughingstock, calling it an absolute disgrace for trash like them to even show up at this prestigious event. Long backs up his buddy, loudly bragging that he's about to blow everyone away. The crowd watches with bated breath. As Chen steps into the demon lair, the demon heart immediately feels a massive pressure crushing down on it. Let's be real. To secure a solid future, any awakener needs to join a top-tier guild. The only path to that goal is crushing the graduation combat exam. For this test, candidates have to handpick their own teammates to build a 10-man squad. The winning squad gets scouted straight into the elite Imperial Guild, making the stakes here incredibly high for everyone. Jean starts recruiting and introduces another low-tier D rank to his boss. He proudly brags, their party is finally complete. Since they already locked down all the D ranks plus the president's brother, he claims there is absolutely no way they miss out on first place. Jean knows the heavy hitters will naturally team up, leaving the weakest scrap heap to fend for themselves. It is a brutal environment of pure survival of the fittest, where weaklings are easily tossed aside and forgotten. As the minutes tick by, Long starts getting pretty anxious because the screen is not moving. The crowd immediately assumes Chen must be so pathetically weak that the scanning system can't even pick up his presence. Jean tells Ting that the rest of these kids are just trash, so they should head out instead of wasting any more time. But just as they turn to walk away, the screen suddenly flashes a high D-rank score, throwing the entire crowd into absolute chaos. You should see their faces pure shock. Even the president and the council are staring in absolute disbelief. Then, the system picks up a strange glitch in the results. Turns out, Chen is just testing the machine to see how his level 10 base stats translate in his normal human form. Once he sees that D rank pop up, he swaps his class to the Infernal Death King, his weakest devoured class. His rank instantly jumps from high D to mid C, completely stunning the crowd. The council can barely believe the machine is actually working right. Even the scientists are scratching their heads, wondering why the numbers keep jumping around. They quickly start to suspect that this expensive testing machine is just completely broken. Right then, the demon heart goes unstable and the numbers glitch again. Chen spots this and decides to swap to an even stronger class, transforming into the Purgatory Rakshasa. The demon heart panics as a violent storm starts brewing right outside the lair. Jian screams in pure confusion, calling this storm a cosmic sign that history is rewriting itself, like their dorm spawned some god-tier monster. And then, in a sudden flash, S-rank potential, leaving both the scientists and President Ting frozen in shock. But then, the system suddenly flashes a massive warning. The user's potential exceeds maximum load and cannot be measured under the current limits. Jian's brain practically short-circuits like a blue screen of death, his soul almost leaving his body. As the system starts cracking under the sheer pressure, the panicked scientists rush forward, desperate to make sure the student does not get hurt. But when they arrive, they freeze in total disbelief. They find nothing but a shriveled raisin where the demon heart used to be, completely fried from extreme overuse. Looks like Chen scared the poor thing to death. Regardless, he ends up devouring the remains, gaining the skill to see anyone's rank and getting alerts about nearby dangers. As he steps out of the demon lair, he's pretty surprised to see everyone's rank hovering right in front of him. But he quickly catches on that the president is hiding his true strength. He is nothing more than a mediocre C rank, at best. The scientists shuffle out awkwardly and announce that the demon heart basically had a heart attack from strain, meaning the exam is on hold. They chalk up Chen's bizarre stats to a machine error and announce that a full report will be sent up for review. The rest of the students are told to come back tomorrow for their exam once a fresh testing device is ready. On the way back, Chen's roommates are practically worshipping him. They hype him up like a total beast after that insane stunt. But Jian's petty jealousy is showing. He calls Chen a massive fraud, demanding he pay for the broken test machine like a sore loser. Chen's right on the edge of absolutely vaporizing the guy when Ting steps in and shuts Jian down right on the spot. Our president warns him, show some respect. Jian is absolutely stunned by the sudden defense. Then, Ting extends his hand, offering this newly revealed powerhouse a spot on his elite squad. He promises that with their combined strength, they'll smash every single high score in school history. Meanwhile, Jian is silently panicking. He knows making room for Chen means kicking someone off, which is going to trigger a massive feud with the brothers. First place. He knows a spot on Ting's team basically guarantees it. He can't help but wonder what makes Chen so special. Rich kids tried to bribe their way onto this squad and failed miserably, yet here he is. Jian swallows his pride, placing a hesitant hand on Chen's shoulder to welcome him. Chen instantly slaps it away, saying he has zero interest in joining. And honestly, the tension is unreal. Jian is sweaty gat. Just watches the whole drama unfold. Jian snaps and tells Chen he's completely out of his mind to reject the strongest team the academy has to offer. But Chen just turns his back, saying he doesn't care about their little club. He calls them way too noisy. Leave. Don't bother me again, he mutters, leaving Jian boiling with pure, unfiltered rage. Just like that, the entire academy starts whispering. Everyone assumes this newly revealed C-rank powerhouse wants to take first place completely alone. Needless to say, the campus is loving every second of this drama. His roommates are having the time of their lives watching Jian and Ting squirm after that humiliating public shutdown. Ting stays completely calm, telling a frustrated Jian not to worry if Chen wants to play solo. Watching from above, the school principal sighs. He was really hoping these two titans would form the ultimate dream team. He wanted them to shatter the school record together, but Ling smiles, pointing out that this is actually way more entertaining. She notes that Ting is a spoiled rich kid. To him, this rejection is basically an open declaration of war, and once his pride is hurt, our president is definitely not a guy you want to make an enemy of. Back on the field, Jian complains that Chen's ego is just from some test glitch. Ting, however, hints that the ranking might be totally legit. Even if the odds are low, he cannot let anyone threaten his throne at the top. Jian reminds him that Chen is still just an ordinary student who probably has zero real combat experience. Meanwhile, they are student council elites who literally trained inside a dangerous demon lair. He suggests giving Chen a brutal wake-up call. Ting cuts him off, coldly asking if Jian really thinks their president would stoop to something so petty. Shaking, Jian quickly apologizes. Ting cancels their evening plans, leaving Jian to handle his own mess. Nothing to do with me. He coldly reminds him that his actions are his own. Jian reads between the lines immediately. Soon, a spy approaches with some intel. Chen has just left the school grounds to head home. Apparently, he didn't even stop to grab a bite, making the timing absolutely perfect for an ambush. Talk about perfect timing. Jian's practically drooling at the chance to corner Chen outside school grounds where nobody can save him. Meanwhile, as Chen crosses the street, memories of a past life disaster flash through his mind. A legendary guild once tried to conquer a dark demon lair in St. Heath. But inside, they faced a nightmare named Wrath. The beast slaughtered the entire elite team instantly. Then, it escaped into the human world, leaving nothing but absolute devastation in its wake. His mind is hazy, but he knows. Chen is determined to locate that demon lair in this timeline. But to fund this hunt, he needs cash fast. So he heads straight to the Mithril Monster Exchange. He knows this place is destined to become the single largest trading hub in the entire nation. In this universe, an Awakener's true combat power heavily relies on their top-tier gear. He only views this massive trading center as a temporary stepping stone. It is just a quick way to pocket some cash before chasing his real goals. He walks up, tossing a few monster fangs right in front of the broker. The broker inspects them closely, squinting with deep suspicion. He demands to know how a regular kid got these. Chen casually shrugs, saying they dropped from a beast he took down. The broker is stunned, having never seen anything like them. Suddenly, his assistant steps in. She explains these fangs belong to an E-class beast called a Sang Sin beast. She explains that these fangs can be crafted into an E-grade weapon or ground down into powder for other handy uses. But the rude broker cuts her off and tosses the fang right back onto the table, claiming an E-grade item is pretty much trash anyway. He boasts that their shop is strictly for VIPs, dealing only with elite awakeners and high-rank items. Using that excuse to cover up his own ignorance, he secretly whines to himself about the complete lack of wealthy clients lately. To him, there is zero point in helping some low-ranking student who can't help him get his sweet promotion. So he calls Chen a bother, dumps the work on his assistant, Lee, and just walks away. Lee politely hands Chen an envelope of cash, asking if there is anything else she can do. Inside, Chen counts $18,000. This is more than enough to cover his rent without sweating. Then, he pulls out that glowing greatsword from the Purgatory Rakshasa. Her eyes instantly go wide. She has never seen anything like it, but she guesses it must be at least B rank, or maybe even A rank, making the broker laugh. He scoffs that A rank gear costs around 1 million, bragging that in all his years here, he has never even seen one. Just then, the shop owner steps in, calmly stating the blade is neither A rank nor B rank. Smugly agreeing that a mere student could never carry something so valuable, the broker immediately praises his boss's sharp eyes. However, the owner explains that this weapon actually comes from the Purgatory lands. Check this out, it is actually an S-rank item, leaving the broker and his assistant frozen in absolute shock. Instantly, the owner shakes Chen's hand, warmly welcoming him as an honored VIP guest. He leads Chen to the private room, promising to handle whatever he needs. Chen smiles, knowing the owner, Qingji, showed up right on cue. Once they settle into the VIP room, the guild boss asks how much Chen wants for the weapon. 1 million, Chen replies, instantly catching the green-haired boss off guard. The boss points out it could easily fetch tens of millions given its immense value. But Chen explains he only wants to use the blade as collateral for a 30-day, $1 million loan, leaving him even more stunned. Impressed by his clever strategy, the boss wonders about his identity while Chen lays out his 30-day repayment plan. Before making his move, the guild boss asks the assistant to step outside so they can talk business in private. With her gone, the boss reveals he knows Chen is a student at the National Awakener University, about to graduate. He knows the big graduation test is in 30 days, and the grand prize is exactly 1 million. Directly looking Chen in the eye, the boss asks if he is absolutely confident he will take first place. The boss figures out Chen is desperate for quick cash, playing this card as his absolute last resort. Instead, he offers Chen 1.5 million right away, entirely interest-free. Reaching out his hand with a smile, he calls it the start of a beautiful friendship, leaving Chen completely speechless. The boss promises that not a single word about their deal will ever leave this room. He simply asks that in return, Chen brings any future trades straight to his guild first. Honestly, you have to respect this boss. He figured everything out instantly but did not try to exploit Chen, proving why he becomes such a massive powerhouse. Shaking hands, Chen knows having powerful allies is crucial if he hopes to defeat the legendary Demon Lord. Moments later, the contract is signed and the cash hits his bank account instantly. The guild boss then asks if he needs to borrow a weapon for the trial, since he just pawned his blade. While they do not have S-rank gear, they have plenty of high-quality A-rank weapons, but Chen tells him not to stress. Instead, he casually summons his other massive greatsword, leaving the guild members completely blown away as he departs. Immediately, the guild boss promotes the pink-haired assistant to supervisor for bringing in such a high-tier client. Before fully leaving, Chen realizes he forgot to buy a few items and turns back to the counter. Hours later, Chen waits at a bus stop, thinking back to his past life where people treated him like absolute garbage. He had to work endless grueling shifts just to get by, living in near homelessness with his sister just to survive. His sister, Yuan. She actually passed the exam for her dream university back then, but declined, claiming it was too far. In reality, she just did not want to become a heavy financial burden on him. Back in the present, he wonders why she has not arrived yet and starts scanning the crowd. Suddenly, a familiar voice calls him stupid for looking at the entrance instead of the exit. It is Yuan. Dragging her massive suitcase, she complains they are completely broke again since the rent wiped out their savings. But Chen just stands there frozen in shock because it has been 7 long years since he last saw her. She orders him to grab her bags, and when he doesn't budge, she waves a hand right in front of his blank face. Suddenly, Chen lunges forward and wraps her in a massive, desperate hug. After some awkward seconds, she pokes his ribs to break free from his grip, lecturing him for nearly suffocating her. Pointing out his strange behavior, she teases him about a potential crush rejection, but he just casually brushes it aside. They start heading down the street together as she endlessly rants about her upcoming exams. Honestly, Chen is just thrilled to hear her voice, silently swearing that he will protect her from any harm in this second life. Meanwhile, in a shadowy side street, a bunch of sketchy-looking thugs are waiting. Once they confirm their target is coming, their leader Jian orders everyone to stay hidden in the shadows for a group ambush. Grinning like a total madman, GM promises himself he will make Chen suffer, but one of his worried lackeys asks if things might go too far and bring heat down on them. The Cloud Assassin mutters that he only wanted a quick beatdown, but their last meeting left him absolutely boiling with rage. Remembering his public humiliation, he tells his goons to save the best parts for him, promising to teach the kid an unforgettable lesson. Jian boasts he is the absolute best, practically drooling over the despair he wants to see, but look at Chen and his sister just happily walking by. Yoon mentions that he's been behaving pretty weirdly, asking if the stress of the exams is getting to him. She quickly laughs it off, teasing that a total weakling like him shouldn't overthink things anyway. Reminding him of his own advice to keep moving and trust fate, she tries to cheer him up by singing a goofy motivational tune as they enter the alley. Chen's quietly amazed she picked up on his mood so quickly, even though she still has zero clue about his insane new powers and deep pockets. When he insists he is totally fine, she jokingly wonders if his fragile male ego is just talking. Yoon shakes her head, thinking to herself that her big brother is finally growing up. Creeping behind them, a thug whispers to Jian that the target brought a girl along. This gets Jan incredibly hyped, knowing there are no security cameras in this dark corner to catch them. But Chen immediately senses their murderous intent, recognizing the exact same trash from the student council. Pulling out some wireless earbuds, he gently pops them into her ears, telling her to check out this awesome song he found. Though surprised because he rarely listens to music, she goes along with it just to understand him a bit better. Chen slowly spins around, his eyes locking onto the trash advancing through the shadows. While the beat bumps in Yoon's ears, the thugs sprint forward to attack. Immediately, Chen switches over to his lightning class. Think about how desperate he is. He lost her for 7 agonizing years, and literally just got her back. Absolutely furious, he wonders where on earth these fools got the audacity to touch them. Shooting forward like a bolt of pure lightning, he kicks the lead thug so hard the guy flies, making the others instantly sweat. Charging his fists, Chen hammers 3 of them before finishing the 4th with a savage knee strike. One overconfident thug lunges in, but Chen effortlessly catches his wrist and snaps it like a dry piece of spaghetti. The guy screeches in agony right before taking a heavy punch directly to the face. Watching his crew get obliterated, Jian completely freezes, wondering how Chen got this overpowered. Chen doesn't slow down for a second, throwing heavy punches left and right as he marches straight toward the leader. Cornering him, Jian desperately lies to himself that he's the top assassin alive, screaming he won't lose. Our hero quickly snaps him back to reality with a devastating punch that sends him airborne. He blitzes forward, unleashing a flurry of brutal strikes that knocks several of Jian's teeth clean out. The self-proclaimed assassin rolls violently across the pavement and slams hard into the brick wall. Looking up, Jian sees him looming over like an absolute demon. Standing over the beaten trash, Chen coldly reminds the coward that he was warned to stay away. Staring straight into his soul, he wonders aloud if this brainless scum is completely incapable of understanding basic human speech. Beaten to a bloody pulp, the arrogant assassin can't even feel his legs, with half the bones in his body completely shattered. Finally, realizing he messed with the absolute wrong guy, he barely manages to choke out a pathetic, weeping apology. But Chen shuts him up instantly, grabbing his collar and pressing a freezing dagger against his cheek. Looking into Chen's eyes, this self-proclaimed expert sees the terrifying gaze of a killer. Zero hesitation. Pure killer instinct. This is definitely not the aura of a normal high school kid. Jian can't help but wonder what kind of absolute hell could turn a guy into a monster like Chen. Chen warns the broken kid to remember his words carefully if he wants to avoid this nightmare again. He won't hesitate to tear them apart if they try anything stupid. But watch this, he adds one last chilling condition. If they even take one step within a mile of his sister, he'll hunt down and erase everyone close to them. Message delivered, he drops the dagger and casually walks back to Yuni's side before the background track finishes playing. Meanwhile, his little sister is totally overwhelmed, actually moved to tears by the painfully sad and lonely lyrics of the song. She cries, heartbroken and confused over what her big brother must have endured to change this drastically. She even wonders if her support back then was just not enough. Wiping her tears, she spins around determined to give him a pretty massive scolding, but she freezes mid-sentence the second she spots the gift in his hand. That shiny gold-plated pen she has always dreamed of owning is sitting right in front of her. Yun flushes bright red with pure, overwhelming excitement. She can't believe her brother actually bought her the newest holographic magic pen. It costs way more than their entire monthly rent. Seeing her adorable reaction immediately warms Chen's heart. Her face says it all, she really doesn't want to return it, even though they are incredibly far behind on rent. Clenching his fist behind his back, Chen silently vows to protect his sister's smile in this life and make sure she gets into her absolute dream school. Back home, Yoon happily spends hours tracing these glowing holographic drawings in the air. Watching her big brother quietly eats a bowl of her homemade ramen, just glad that she loves the gift. But then reality kicks in, and she starts worrying about him spending so much cash when next month's rent is unpaid. In response, Chen just flashes a proud smile and reveals that their rent for the entire year is already paid. He casually brags that his little side business with a friend has been pretty profitable lately, but Yoon is sharp, immediately shooting him a suspicious glare. She is definitely not buying this incredibly convenient business story. Still, she decides not to push the subject any further. Honestly, she can't even remember the last time her big brother laughed so openly. Patting his shoulder, she makes one request. Whatever secret hustle he's got going on, he just needs to make sure he doesn't burn himself out. Meanwhile, over at a quiet aquarium, Student Council President Ting shares some shocking news with his cousin. The city's best doctors say their top assassin is critically injured. Over half the bones in his body are completely shattered. Fighting Chen was already unexpected, but the horrifying state of his body after the clash is just absolutely staggering. She reacts with chilling indifference. Her only disappointment is that their team just lost an elite graduate student, but the president is somehow just as ruthless, brushing it off by claiming he'll perform even better without some useless, burdensome teammate weighing him down. Just then, their uncle, who is also the academy's employment director, speaks up. Director Gong Xuan calmly reports on Chen's recent moves. His detailed investigation into the chaos at the ranking ceremony is finally done, and the results are pretty undeniable. Get this, Chen actually ranks higher than the student council president himself. This massive revelation catches the former top student completely off guard. The director then offers some pretty stern advice, revealing that Ting's father personally asked a vice chairman of the alliance to evaluate his upcoming exam performance. Because of this, Ting must make sure he shines brighter than anyone else. But just in case he fails to secure that spotlight, the director proposes a backup plan. The green-haired girl, his uncle's favorite niece, will join his team to guarantee they secure first place overall. However, the arrogant council president flatly rejects the offer without a single second thought. He haughtily claims that he didn't even use a fraction of his true strength during the initial assessment. Supremely confident in his overwhelming superiority, President Ting assures them he'll dominate the entire academy on his own. Back at the academy dorms, Chen washes off after finishing a grueling daily 100-mile run with a heavily weighted backpack. He is completely locked in on one single goal, winning the $1 million prize in the upcoming graduation exam. This prize is his only real shot at fulfilling his deal with the Mithril Guild's Qingji and establishing a lucrative. It is a pretty sweet trade deal. With only a few weeks left before the big exam, he heads to bed not to sleep, but to keep up his brutal training grind all through the night. Sending his consciousness right into his demonic lair, he spots Demon King Lan Yu's massive void tower looming ahead. Without any hesitation, he charges straight up the long, imposing staircase leading to the front gates. Earlier, his first trial with the Grave Hound King class landed him a pretty respectable mid-C rank. But then again, the crazy power of his Abyssal Fiend class completely shattered the Academy's measurement system. Even the legendary Demon Heart itself could not properly measure its raw potential. So, the only way to actually test his other classes becomes pretty obvious. He has to unlock the Void Tower and unleash its power in real combat. Stepping inside, Chen wonders what kind of brutal, nightmarish challenge this tower is going to throw at him. But check this out. What he sees next completely breaks his brain. He gets pulled into a bizarre dimension, standing on a massive white planet floating in the middle of space. One step. That is all it takes to crash him down, struggling to stand. In these fallen star wastes, gravity is 10 times stronger than on Earth, crushing Chen's bones under intense pressure. To make matters worse, his only exit suddenly vanishes behind him. He realizes he must kill the boss to escape, meaning he has to adapt fast before some monster decides to ambush him. No chance. A phantom lion is already prowling nearby, waiting to strike. With zero choices, Chen quickly swaps to his lightning class. The beast pounces, but he barely dodges and drives a blade right into its shoulder. The beast roars in rage, but because his strike missed its vital spots, it barely does any damage. He instantly realizes his swings are just as slow and clumsy as his heavy, struggling movements. The phantom lion easily pins him down, snapping its jaws to finish him. It is pretty clear these local monsters are perfectly adapted to this brutal, crushing gravity. Letting the beast sink its teeth into his arm, he quickly swaps over to his Abyssal Fiend class. The swap instantly triggers a completely different kind of stat boost. He sacrifices his speed for a massive surge in strength and stamina, which is perfect for raw, close-quarters combat. Boom! His class swap slams the beast down, instantly flipping the entire fight. Rakshasa's gravity control is incredibly useful on a planet with 10 times gravity, and a 3 times multiplier hits like an absolute truck. The beast roars in fury, but Chen has zero mercy, crushing it flat into the earth. Exhausted, he collapses onto the ground just to breathe. Gluttony pops up with a sweet level-up screen. That is when he learns every single class actually has a star rating. The stars represent exactly how much his stats jump whenever he swaps to that specific class. Currently, Purgatory Rakshasa has the absolute highest rating. But even with that edge, he barely survived a desperate struggle against a single B-rank Phantom Lion. It is pretty obvious he has a long way to go before unleashing his true triple S rank potential. On top of that, he gets pretty annoyed that Gluttony won't even let him devour the dead beast. Still, no exit portal appears. This beast definitely was not the actual floor boss. Oh, you are not going to like this. A massive door creaks open, revealing dozens of glowing eyes in the dark. One down. But that insane effort is absolutely nothing compared to what comes next. Tons of B-rank monsters swarm out of the gateway, clawing at him from all sides. Now, he finally understands what Rakshasa meant. The demon warned him that this tower was packed with pure, ruthless beasts, promising him a journey filled with absolute agony. But he has to survive the pain if he ever wants to adapt and grow. Suddenly, Chen jolts awake in bed, breathing heavy like he just barely survived a massive, living nightmare. His roommates are still sleeping peacefully, totally clueless that he was just literally ripped to shreds by a pack of monsters. He gets it now. This void tower is definitely no easy leveling shortcut. This is just the brutal start of a long, painful climb. Fast forward a few weeks, and graduation day is finally here. Major VIPs crowd the stands to watch the Academy's hot new rookies show off. The instructors announce new team-building rules, forcing every squad to draft at least one high E-rank student. Even crazier, they reveal that everyone's rank is now fully visible to the public. This makes it super easy for squads to quickly draft their members. The leaderboard displays everyone from the highest rank to the lowest, but Ma Long spots something incredibly weird. Chen is just as confused when he finds his own name sitting dead last at the very bottom. Everyone's staring, completely baffled by how a high-grade awakener like him ended up dead last on the board. The jealous crowd immediately starts talking trash, convinced that his original high rank was just some error in the test. Still, they can't deny his strength is the real deal, and adding him would easily skyrocket any team's score. Gong Sun Ting stays dead silent while the crowd whispers, mocking the idiot who's probably regretting turning down his elite offer. As it turns out, the snake behind this trap is his own uncle, Gong Sun Xuan, who calculated that absolutely nobody would recruit Chen after seeing him ranked at the bottom. A simple scheme. If Chen can't qualify, he has zero chance of beating Gong Sun Ting's squad. Hours earlier, the whole class was practically begging Gong Sun Ting to let them grab a spot on his elite team. They throw endless flattery at him, but Chang brutally shuts them down, saying there's only room for one single recruit. No options left. All the other students have teamed up, completely freezing out the guys from the weakest dorm. Long sighs that they begged absolutely everyone, but nobody wants in. Since they only have 4 members, they're disqualified from even taking the graduation test. He complains that it is pretty suspicious how Chen's score was rigged to the lowest rank, locking him out of the exam entirely. Because the official rules require at least one high-level E rank, it's pretty obvious their group was targeted. After all, this graduation exam is the only shot students have to get scouted by top guilds. In this final exam, team size actually dictates exactly how many monsters the group has to fight, so having a larger roster is zero advantage. That is exactly why nobody wants anything to do with these weak students. They're seen as pure dead weight. And it gets worse. The 3 lowest ranked losers all share the same dorm, leaving them totally isolated from the rest. Suddenly, another student shouts over to Zuo, saying their group is only missing one final member. The jerk tries to manipulate him, whispering that surely he doesn't want to fail the graduation test just to stay with his useless roommates. Chen realizes that if this keeps dragging on, there is a massive chance they will all get left behind without even getting to compete. No deal. The dorm king flatly rejects the offer, declaring he will absolutely never abandon his roommates. The rejected group storms off in anger, but he yells a warning not to underestimate them. Checking the system roster, Long announces that practically everyone has already teamed up. Just one person. They only need one teammate, but absolutely nobody is willing to join them. Chen glares up at the director, finally connecting the dots between him and Gong Sun Ting. This whole setup is just a pretty cheap, rigged game. He wonders, does Gong Sun Xuan really think he's that big of a threat to them? But he's not giving up. Watch this. He activates his crackling lightning, determined to force his way into the test. No more holding back. Since these hypocrites are showing their hatred openly, he has zero reason to hold back anymore. Unleashing his raw energy, he steps forward as the school officials gasp at this sudden, overwhelming display of power. Even his roommates are left wondering what he is up to. A loophole. Chen recalls a special rule that applies to all Awakener schools. To stir up competition, any student can challenge anyone else at any moment. It might seem like showing off, but it's the fastest way to get recognized. Normally, most people would just back down from a fight like this, but he knows Gong Sun Ting's pride won't let him run. If he beats the blonde president, everyone will beg to join his squad. Wait, check this out. A mysterious girl suddenly appears, asking if his squad still needs another teammate. She wants in. She adds that she also wants to take part in this year's graduation test. The vice president chimes in, noting she reached D rank back in middle school, so she definitely won't let him down. His roommates absolutely lose their minds, wondering how he snagged such a gorgeous ally. Meanwhile, both Chen and Gongsun Ting look utterly confused, and Gongsun Xuan literally chokes on his water. The surrounding students immediately start gossiping, wondering why on earth an exchange student wants to join the absolute worst-ranked team. Nobody actually knows her true background, but whispers say she hails from the legendary Saint Kingdom. Gongsun Xuan gets incredibly furious, barking at her that exchange students are strictly banned from taking the school's graduation exam. He argues that Ling never even took a single rank test here, nor has she officially verified her current grade. Rules are rules. But suddenly, the principal warps in and agrees that the director is correct. Gongsun Xuan is totally shocked to see the old man. The principal then questions why Ling even wants to test, since her stay here is only temporary. Chen is completely thrown off, wondering how on earth a warrior-class principal managed to suddenly teleport right in front of them. The old man gently explains that having her in the exam wouldn't be fair to the others, and she smoothly plays along. Chen starts sweating as he realizes he can't even begin to sense what rank these two actually are. Gongsun Xuan finally gathers his courage to speak up, backing the principal by declaring that a proper school simply cannot run without strict rules. Then the principal shifts his tone, explaining that this school exists to give awakeners a real place to learn and achieve great things. Sure, this test is a classic tradition, but it is still a massive moment in a student's life. So how is the school going to make up for it if sudden rule changes rob them of their chance? The director starts sweating bullets. Has his cover finally been blown? He seriously starts questioning if the principal is pulling all of these strings just to help Chen. It is not worth the headache. The director decides to back right down. He tells himself that since the powerhouse students already teamed up, they will easily dominate the test anyway. The director bows and apologizes to the principal, admitting they completely overlooked how the old system was blocking some students from growing. Then he announces that for maximum fairness, even lower-ranked groups and teams with under 5 members are officially allowed in. With that, the 4 dorm mates finally lock in their team, celebrating their chance to join the big exam. Watching from the back, the principal notes that Ling seems a bit too interested in Chen. Meanwhile, the student council president steps up to lead the school's absolute strongest team, and Chen? He is leading the 3 weakest players. This leaves the old man pretty curious about which specific cave they will choose and what their final score will look like. The official finally announces that all team captains can now select which devil cave to enter. Check this out, a tablet dings, catching him off guard because one captain already chose. Everyone freezes in shock when they see Chen's pick. His dorm mates go into a full panic, screaming at him to quickly change his mind and asking if he even realizes what he just did. But Chen just stays silent, eyes locked right on the screen. For context, teams enter these devil caves to score points by killing monsters. Taking down monster lords and clearing the dungeon quickly will bag them extra bonus points. The difficulty tier of the dungeon then acts as a multiplier for that total score. An F-rank dungeon maxes out at 75 points, while an E-rank dungeon offers a maximum of 100 points. The highest scoring team will get scouted by the prestigious Imperial Guild, and the absolute top player takes home 1,000,000 won. Inside the room, the students whisper that the highest score in history was 90 points, set by the current leader of that Imperial Guild. Even beating an E-rank dungeon requires a team to pack at least 3 pretty solid D-rank fighters. But this year, Ting's team might actually break that record. Suddenly, the main screen dings to announce a cave has been chosen. Everyone loses it when they see that Chen selected a D-rank dungeon. Literally, nobody has ever cleared a D-rank dungeon before, making everyone wonder if he just made a massive typo. Long asks Chen if he dropped on his head, while the dorm king completely loses his mind looking at the monitor. The nerd tries talking some actual sense into Chen, who reveals he thought pretty long and hard about this. Then the system dings again as the student council president also selects the D-rank cave. Ting's teammates immediately lock in their leader's choice, officially qualifying their group for the exam. The entire classroom goes absolutely wild at the news, though Ting's group tries to act totally cool. A blonde goth girl openly roasts Chen for acting tough, assuming he is just begging for attention. Then a bald student chimes in, saying Chen's weak teammates will never agree and the group will collapse. Now get this, Long studies Chen's face and realizes he is totally serious, wondering when his friend became this incredibly bold. Making up his mind, the nerd slams that confirm button, deciding to trust his best friend. Yo also smashes the green button, feeling like he has absolutely nothing to lose. The dorm king gets annoyed that they beat him to it, so he slams the button too. Just like that, their team is officially in the test. Looking over at his loyal dormmates, Chen apologizes and explains he chose this dungeon to become the top scorer. He knows he is dragging them into his personal dream, but he promises they will reach the top together. Hearing those bold words, the president stands up and declares that the top spot belongs only to him, as Chen spins around to face him. Ting releases a seriously intimidating aura, declaring that there can only be one strongest student in this school. Watching from the back, Ling is surprised since this is the first time she's seen Ting show such raw emotion. Their rivalry is now out in the open. The principal actually feels pretty proud that these students are so fearless. But Ling feels uneasy about Chen picking a D-rank cave, which even a C-rank fighter couldn't clear alone. Even if it gives 150 points, the difficulty is just too extreme. On top of that, his weak teammates are not suited for this kind of challenge at all. The principal adds that with barely a single month left, it will be impossible to level up enough in time. But he still keeps his hopes high. Fast forward 2 weeks, and the training ground is filled with exhausted students. Long wonders why they are stuck doing brutal physical drills while everyone else gets simulation training. Chen dragged them through non-stop brutal workouts, leaving everyone utterly exhausted. Chen explains that simulations are pretty useless. The second you step into a real demon cave, your mind goes blank and only raw survival instincts will keep you alive. This intense physical training is meant to build their bodies so they can move faster and react instantly. Obviously, the best practice is entering an actual dungeon, but for normal students, nothing but a dream. Only elite students get those golden opportunities. On top of that, those elites do everything they can to prevent regular students from ever catching up. They hoard resources that normal folks spend their entire lives chasing. Frustrated, the dorm king asks what regular people are even supposed to do against those odds. That is when Chen drops his master plan. If they can somehow join the Imperial Guild, they can rewrite the rules. This graduation exam is it. Their only shot to leave those elites in the dust. Fueled by this dream, Chen vows to do whatever it takes to honor his word, promising they will win. With only 2 weeks left before the big exam, our main character grinds inside the Void Tower every single night. Defeating those Phantom Lions is brutal, but he refuses to quit, no matter how badly he gets thrashed. With just 5 days left, his roommates are training hard. But get this, Chen is on a whole different level. His brutal routine makes standard training look like a casual warm-up. Meanwhile, with only 2 days left, his rival is not slacking off either. Yet Chen is evolving at a terrifying speed, easily taking on a whole pack of lions under crushing gravity. Blood drips down his face, yet he has never looked more ready to take it all. Exam day finally arrives, and a small guide drone hovers over the crowd. Our boys step up in matching gear, looking incredibly sharp. The second they strap on their wristbands, the exam is officially underway. Outside, the academy principal is warmly welcoming Gong Lin. This distinguished-looking man happens to be President Ting's father, who also co-founded the legendary Imperial Guild. The students can't tear their eyes away from this legendary figure, whispering and staring like he is some rare creature. But their jaws drop when they watch the principal and the co-founder roll out the welcome mat for a luxury white limo. Carl Cavendish, a striking red-haired man, calmly steps out of the luxury vehicle. The crowd goes wild because everyone instantly recognizes him as the vice chairman of the World Guild Alliance. A high-profile figure like him has no business visiting a school like this. Up in the VIP room, the director briefs their elite guest, noting that 23 teams are tackling F-rank demon lairs. A handful opted for E-rank. Meanwhile, only 2 daring squads picked D-rank territory. Hearing this, the Alliance Secretary Sigrid looks genuinely shocked that these kids would take such a massive gamble. Normally, even professional D-rank teams prepare meticulously before entering a D-rank lair. She questions if the academy actually prioritized student safety here. Hearing her concern, the director calmly explains that the students know exactly what they signed up for. He points out that rookie awakeners with 0 field experience usually struggle against even basic F-rank monsters. But the real threat? The lair's boss. It operates on a completely different level of power. Most teams fail against the boss, but E-rank lairs? A whole different beast. Over there, even common grunts are as tough as an F-rank boss. That is a brutal lesson students learn the hard way. The secretary then asks what safety measures are in place if things go horribly wrong for these kids. The director assures her. The school takes their top talents very seriously. For maximum security, an elite warrior from the Imperial Guild is stationed outside every single portal, fully prepared to intervene. Plus, the emergency wristbands will instantly teleport them to safety the moment they forfeit, or if the system detects their life is in critical danger. Even with those precautions, the lady still highly doubts any of these students are skilled enough to clear a D-rank lair. She quietly wonders how long those teams can survive in there. Would you actually bet on them? Meanwhile, the director expects the cocky E-rank kids to come running back crying. But inside the icy, tree-filled D-rank dungeon, Chen's squad is already paralyzed with fear. Honestly, anyone would panic. Staring at these terrifying creatures, they look like twisted bat-monkey hybrids. Chen immediately warns everyone that these monsters strike from above in the blink of an eye, meaning they must stay on high alert. Suddenly, a whole swarm of those creepy monkey bats dives straight toward them. Amazingly, the boys somehow manage to clumsily dodge those lightning-fast aerial strikes, While still hyped over dodging that D-rank swipe, something even crazier catches their eye. Chen stands calmly with his lightning blade, completely surrounded by dead monsters piled up at his feet. He orders his squad to focus entirely on saving themselves because they are still too weak, leaving the rest of the fight to him. Out of nowhere, another ghost monkey bat sweeps in fast, but they just barely manage to slip out of its way. Wait, look at this. Songshu realizes that Chen was actually pushing them this whole time to train their reflexes just so they could stay alive. Ju grits his teeth. He always claimed to be the ultimate dorm king, but now he must count on his random roommate. Meanwhile, Chen totally decimates the rest of those ghost monkeys. They swarm him in endless waves, but he cuts them down before the beasts even realize what hit them. Ju mutters to himself that while he always heard about Chen's crazy power from Ma Long, this is the very first time he's seeing it up close. To him, Chen does not look like a regular student at all. He looks like a seasoned soldier. Watching him fight, Ju feels a tiny prick of jealousy over Chen's growing fame. Suddenly, another beast lunges from behind them, and Ju barely manages to block its sudden strike. He grabs the beast's leg with his burning, flaming hands and screams at his teammates to stop acting like deadweight and finally get it together. After all, graduation is on the line for everyone here, and the others stare at him, completely stunned by this sudden burst of fiery pride. Fired up by Ju's sheer stubbornness, Shangzu fires off his vine lock spell, successfully binding the raging beast. But the monster shatters the vines almost instantly, landing a heavy kick right on Shangzu. Ma Long unleashes his frostbite breeze spell, which barely slows the creature down, forcing them to quickly coordinate their strikes for a joint attack. Teaming up, they manage to pin the creature down for just a brief second and shout for Ju to take the shot as he charges a massive flame bullet. But his explosive flame strike does basically nothing, only singeing some of its fur. He spams flame bullets at the target, but nothing drops it, and both Shangzu and Ma Long are completely exhausted. Ju realizes he cannot afford to hold anything back anymore. Gathering every ounce of his mana, he unleashes a massive firestorm right at the beast, triggering a wild explosion. When the smoke finally clears, only a charred skeleton is left. The drone confirms they killed a D-rank threat. All three of them collapse onto the dirt, absolutely exhausted. They are hyped that they actually beat a D-rank monster alone. Chen walks up, pretty surprised, and they instantly ask if he watched them do it. The fallen beast drops a single finger bone as loot. Shangzu tries to play it cool, acting like it was easy work, but Chen just smiles and congratulates them. And you have to see this reaction when the drone broadcasts that the cave is cleared. Director Gong looks like he is about to completely lose his mind. He cannot believe these weak students with zero actual battle experience just took down a D-class threat. The other teachers are dead silent, while Vice Chairman Cavendish's assistant calmly commends Chen for his incredible showing. He silently notes that the boy's presence reminds him a lot of an old comrade. The vice chairman takes mental note of Chen's name, which immediately panics President Ting's father and the director. Trying to shift the spotlight away, the director quickly redirects everyone's eyes to the student council team inside the other D-rank cave, pointing out they have already reached the middle section. His assistant praises their smooth coordination, comparing them to a professional guild raid unit. Chairman Carl smiles and notes that this year's graduates are far more impressive than previous terms. Director Gong mutters to himself that the real action is only beginning and the best is yet to come. Over in the D-rank Toxic Vine Cavern, the president's team gets ambushed by toxic mushroom monsters spawning everywhere. A female teammate plays her guitar to cast a decay curse, while a star mage groups the mushrooms together using gravity to set up a clean combo. He shouts out for his captain, and the president charges straight into the action with his sword, ready to finish these monsters off with style. With one swift motion, the president activates his Blazing Sky Sword skill, blowing the toxic pests to pieces. His teammates quickly realize that the beasts in this cave are exactly the same as the ones from training. Knowing exactly what to expect, they easily breeze through the fight, realizing the school staff rigged this entire arena in their favor. Having powerful connections really makes life a breeze, and they are already starting to celebrate their easy win. These guys are absolutely convinced they'll take first place this year without even trying. Deep in the Cloud Forest's final zone, the crew can't believe they actually made it to the boss. Right there in the frozen wasteland sits a massive ghost ape, casually chewing on its dinner. Shangzu, the dorm king, starts sweating bullets just looking at it. One hit from that beast would kill him. Suddenly, the massive beast slowly locks its eyes right on the weakest link in the group. Ma Long lets out a terrified shriek, and that's all the trigger the ape needs. It lunges forward in a massive, terrifying leap. While the others scramble to save their own skins, Chen does the opposite, charging straight in without hesitating. He flies straight into the ape's giant face with a brutal kick, following up with rapid-fire punches that send its massive body airborne. Ripping the monster into absolute shreds, he finishes the fight with ease. His friends are left staring in complete horror, but Chen's just annoyed these weak D-rank mobs barely give him any experience points. And the loot? Absolute trash, too. But then he hears his teammates yelling in pure excitement. It turns out the giant ape was hiding massive, glowing mana stones inside a hollow tree trunk. Thrilled by the unexpected jackpot, the guys immediately reach out to grab the shiny crystals. And right here's the trap. Chen screams for them to stop, but he's too late as a blinding light explodes. Within a few split seconds, the entire area is encased in solid ice. Shangzhu, the dorm king, and the recording drones are frozen solid instantly. Up in the VIP room, the live feed suddenly goes completely pitch black. The shady director smirked. It looked like he was waiting for this exact disaster. He knew higher-ranked monsters set deadly traps, and it was only a matter of time before Chen's rookie squad walked right into this one. Vice Chairman Cavendish frowns, clearly worried about his students. The director fakes some quick sympathy, arguing they have to pull the team immediately. But the principal absolutely disagrees with him. He points out they aren't in danger yet. Not really. The wristbands trigger automatically if health drops too low, and besides, nobody has forfeited. For him, only the students themselves have the right to decide when to finally throw in the towel. Back down in the dungeon, Ma Long is shivering violently. Out of the entire team, he's the only one who avoided getting frozen solid. And that's purely because his character class naturally boasts a pretty high defense against ice magic. Suddenly, Ma Long hears a chilling laugh. Staring him down is a ruthless skeletal ice monster. From his studies, he recognizes this thing as the lair's true boss. It's a powerful cloud mage, capable of perfectly balancing offense and defense by manipulating the surrounding ice and snow. He remembers something even worse. This creature, the Bone King of Remains, loves torturing its prey. Realizing the ice was just a trap, Ma Long runs. Ma Long knows damn well he can't handle a class boss monster completely on his own. He charges toward Chen to break the ice, but a sharp frost spike pierces his leg before he can get close. The Bone King cackles at his pain as Ma Long's safety bracelet blares, warning him that his leg has been severely injured. Though the screen prompts him to forfeit, Ma Long absolutely refuses to quit. He drags himself forward to free Chen before their last hope dies. Suddenly, another sharp icicle impales his arm, pinning him down despite his desperate struggles. The Bone King loves watching Ma Long suffer as his wristband flashes yet another warning. It alerts him of the pierced arm, tracks his dangerously spiking heart rate, and begs him to forfeit the exam one more time. But get this, he refuses. Instead, Ma Long thinks back to his pathetic past. His whole life, he had always run away the second things got tough, always leaving himself completely left behind. He remembers the endless cold shoulders, the bullying, and the constant mockery. His squad worked way too hard to get to this point. There's no way he's throwing it away. Grasping this as his absolute last chance to change his destiny, he gathers his remaining strength, stands, and breaks Chen free. He stands tall, facing a relentless storm of razor-sharp icicles launched by the Bone King. Just as the attack is about to crush him, Ma Long lets out a desperate roar, and Chen finally opens his eyes. The ice block completely shatters, and Chen lunges forward, grabbing Ma Long and carrying him out of harm's way in a flash. This escape completely catches the Bone King off guard. Ma Long instantly realizes that Chen broke out of that massive ice block completely on his own. Chen thanks Ma Long for trying to help him and immediately asks about his wounds with deep, genuine concern. Ma Long replies that the bleeding stopped for now, so he'll survive. Ma Long warns Chen that this beast is a cloud-type C-rank lord called the Bone King, meaning it is a pretty massive threat in close combat. He insists they must avoid getting frozen a second time if they actually want to walk away from this alive. Looking back, they find the Bone King charging a massive swarm of ice shards. Watch this. Ma Long completely freezes up as the boss readies a massive ice nuke. Then, boom, the giant bomb detonates, burying everything in a flash of blinding white. The monster laughs, but then it stops dead. Both boys are somehow still alive after that absolutely brutal blast. Chen shifts classes. Doomflame King is active now. His frost body skill makes him fully immune to cold. This cool transformation also boosts his cold environment resistance, completely turning the battle to his advantage. Screaming in terror, the Bone King shrieks. Even Ma Long is totally confused, watching his friend who should be a Volt assassin suddenly transform into a Cloud Warrior instead. He wonders if Chen is some rare prodigy who can awaken two classes at once. Chen just apologizes for misjudging the entire situation earlier, admitting his mistake dragged his friends into a pretty dangerous battle. Then, he switches classes again this time, into an Abyssal Fiend. Drawing his Purgatory Warrior sword, he faces the Bone King, fully intending to end this fight right now. Ma Long's jaw drops wide open at the sight. Normally, Awakeners only get one class to master, but there is a pretty rare chance for someone to hold two classes at once. These dual-class players are so rare you can count them on one hand, making them priceless treasures that major guilds fight to recruit. But wait, here is the real kicker. Ma Long looks closer and realizes Chen is not using just one or two, but three completely different classes. And somehow, each of these classes is in a complete league of its own. In abyssal fiend form, Chen's stats shoot up at a pretty crazy rate. His insane physical strength launches him off the ground like a rocket as he charges forward, with explosive momentum toward the boss. The boss's smug grin instantly vanishes when it feels Chen's deadly aura, and with one clean motion, he slices the beast like a knife through hot butter. This instantly hits level 17, earning him a pretty rare loot drop. Staring at the shattered bones on the ground, Ma Long is still in complete shock that Chen just one-shot a C-rank boss. Chen casually reminds him that their team is still completely frozen solid in ice. Ma Long suddenly panics, realizing he totally forgot about everyone else during the fight, and rushes off to thaw them out before they freeze to death. Once Ma Long leaves, Chen notices he has the option to devour the fallen Frostlich King. With no one around to watch, he quickly absorbs the defeated boss and unlocks the Cloud Mage class. Since the boss's ice blast blinded all the nearby cameras and drones, nobody outside will ever find out about his secret ability. Then, a surprise notification pops up. His Lightning Assassin class leveled up too, letting him add a star to boost a stat. Meanwhile, over in the D-rank zone called Gloomvine Grotto, the Council President's team is getting absolutely destroyed. No matter how hard they fight, the D-rank boss is just way too strong for these amateur awakeners. The mage attempting to restrain the beast with glowing chains is already on the verge of collapsing. To make things worse, the lightning archer's arrows feel more like a light massage than actual damage to the monster. The beast easily flings them around like cheap action figures. Humiliated, they wonder if all their training was completely useless. They have never faced power like this. The mage quickly realizes the president is their only real shot at winning. Standing far in the back, the president strikes a dramatic pose, charging up his ultimate skill while receiving massive buffs from the support mages. Once he finally gathers enough energy, he leaps straight at the boss with his flaming sword. The glowing blade pierces straight through the monster's core, erupting into a violent storm of fire that melts the creature from the inside out. His teammates cheer wildly, celebrating a future legend whose name is going down in history. Nearby, the drone announces they cleared a Grade D zone in just over 30 minutes. Completely fired up, the entire party is convinced they easily secured first place. Believing no other team could possibly beat that record, they exit the dungeon, expecting to see their names shining at the absolute top of the rankings. They walk back through halls crowded with beaten students who gave up and teleported out pretty early. Most look completely traumatized, still clearly haunted by the demons they faced for the first time. Gongting's lackey spots Chen and his squad sitting off to the side. Seeing them look exhausted, the lackey assumes they failed the moment they stepped inside. He smugly walks over, mocking Chen for talking so big earlier, only to quit halfway. The loyal follower keeps talking, but Gongting silences him because the Alliance Vice Chairman is approaching. Clapping slowly, the elegant man congratulates the students on their pretty great performance. As he draws near, Gongting tries to stay calm, while his followers literally shake standing in front of this legendary figure. Smiling confidently, Gongting reaches out for a warm handshake. But get this, Carl Cavendish completely ignores the hand and walks straight past him. Publicly embarrassed, Gongting feels his massive pride completely shatter. To make things worse, the vice chairman loudly calls his rival a true legend. Carl Cavendish grips Chen's shoulder and announces that Chen cleared a D-rank dungeon in just 20 minutes. Not even the professional elite teams from his own guild have ever run a record like that. Hearing this, Gongting and his lackeys are left completely speechless. They cannot comprehend how 4 complete nobodies beat their 10-man squad and cleared a D-rank layer. Chen does not even blink. Getting praised by this powerful man means absolutely nothing to him. Still, he wonders why such a massive figure personally came to this academy. Carl Cavendish calmly states he will remember Chen's name, then turns to Gong Lin, the man who invited him. The vice chairman casually mentions that his son seems pretty talented, too, offering a weak compliment at best. That dry remark leaves a pretty bitter taste for both the father and son. With that said, the vice chairman announces his departure. The anxious academy director quickly steps in to smooth things over. He declares the final results, stating that both teams are tied. Consequently, everyone will get an official invitation to join the prestigious Imperial Guild. This news sounds like absolute music to Chen's roommates, since they are basically set for life thanks to his carry. Gongting's lackeys celebrate too, but Gongting himself is far from happy with this outcome. The director then adds that both captains get management roles and the $1 million cash prize will be split evenly between them. Hearing that, both leaders are visibly surprised. Chen quietly worries that $500,000 will not be enough to pay his debt. He needs to find another way to make the rest of the cash for the mithril exchange. But that worry might not even matter, because Gongting openly refuses to accept a tie. He boldly declares that a one-on-one duel must decide the true winner, as there can only be one true champion. This sudden challenge is so unexpected that it catches the eye of both the director and the vice chairman. Terrified by his nephew's reckless move, the director urgently begs him to accept the tie, explaining it is the best possible outcome after his earlier humiliation. He assumes Chen will naturally reject this pointless duel, but Chen immediately accepts on one condition: the winner takes the entire $1 million prize. Now, this is a crazy twist. It actually makes the vice chairman pause and cancel his departure. With the term set, Chen steps forward to face him, ready to settle the score once and for all. Sometime later, Chingri admits he expected a high rank, but a perfect score blew him away. Seeing Chen dominating the news, Chingri knows his financial backing was a genius move. He even offers to cancel Chen's entire $1.5 million debt as an investment. Refusing any cheap handouts, Chen firmly states that a debt is a debt and must be repaid. Instead, Chen announces he came to discuss two things, immediately catching Chingri's interest. First, he asks for a one-week extension because the graduation test ended in a tie. Since his prize fell 500,000 short, he reveals his plan to win a tiebreaker duel against Gong Ting. The dangerous duel will take place next week inside a wild devil's cave near the school. Chingri is shocked by this reckless move, questioning why students would enter a wild dungeon. He warns Chen it is far too dangerous without elite pro training. Completely unfazed, Chen tells him to relax, confidently promising to win that remaining $500,000. To make up for the delay, he promises to hand over every single monster material he harvests from the cave. Seeing Chen's total lack of fear, Chingri literally sweats in disbelief. He silently admits this kid is truly something else. Then, Chen adds that there is a second, more important reason for his visit. Wearing a dead serious expression, Chen bluntly drops his final piece of news. Whatever he reveals next leaves Chingri completely speechless, his jaw dropping in pure disbelief. Stunned, Chingri stands right up, staring at Chen in dead silence. Meanwhile, over at Qingshui Middle School, Chen's little sister, Yun, is celebrating the end of her finals while her classmates complain about how brutal the test was. Checking her phone, she happily notes that summer vacation is finally starting. Then, she remembers today is a massive day for her brother, his final graduation assessment. Looking down at her lock screen, she smiles at a cheerful selfie of her and Chen. 4 years ago, an excited Chen burst into the room holding his admission letter to the university, absolutely thrilled about his elemental potential. A younger Yun excitedly asked if he was finally going to become an awakener, just like their parents. Brimming with hope, Chen promised to join an elite guild, make tons of money, and give her a better life, believing that power would reveal what happened to their parents. Yun cheered him on, completely confident her brother would become a top-tier awakener. In a much more recent memory, a depressed Chen sat at his desk, worrying because he was already a senior and still had not awakened his powers as Yun watched. Seeing her worried face, he quickly tried to cover up his sadness. Forcing a smile, he told her everything was fine, but in the present, Yun can only reflect on her brother's painful journey. Despite putting in more work than anyone else, he was the only student who failed to awaken. Imagine watching everyone else succeed while you are left in the dirt. That is the pain he hid to protect her, before her classmate Jutong runs up. Jutong asks if Yun heard the hot gossip, revealing that their national university produced 2 absolute genius graduates this year. She explains that both prodigies led their teams to perfect scores and got praised by the Guild Alliance vice chairman, putting their hometown on the map. Jutong remembers that Yun's brother actually goes to that same university and asks about him. Yun hesitates, a wave of sadness washing over her. Before she can even say a word, a pink-haired classmate cuts in with a flirty greeting. It is the school idol, Jin Woo-jin, who smugly tells Yun that he booked a private room and asks if she is free tonight. Jutong is stunned, asking since when she knew this superstar. Yun just looks incredibly annoyed. Without saying a single word, she spins around and dashes down the hallway as fast as her legs can carry her. A confused Jutong wonders why her friend is sprinting away, while Jin Woo-jin silently watches her leave. Running home, Yun imagines her brother crying over his failure while all his classmates are out celebrating. Desperate to comfort him, she decides to cook a massive, epic feast to cheer his spirits up. Later that night at the apartment, Yun whips up an incredibly huge, delicious spread of food, complete with a hot pot and endless side dishes. Chen is totally amazed by the feast, asking his sister how on earth she cooked all this so fast. But as he happily eats, Yun just watches him in worried silence. Suddenly, the television starts broadcasting a report about the graduation assessment over at the National Awakener University. Chen just keeps casually enjoying his food while the news anchor details the surprise visit of Vice Chairman Carl. Seeing him so cheerful, Yun assumes he is just faking a smile to hide his painful failure, while the TV announces a rare tie where 2 students got perfect scores. The news anchor reveals that Vice Chairman Carl highly praised one of the team leaders who got that perfect score, announcing the name Chen. Hearing that name, Yun looks at the TV in absolute shock. Wait, so the brother she thought was a complete failure is actually the genius who got a perfect score? She literally cannot believe it. Cut to a dark, menacing room where a bloody whip lies on the cold floor as a voice remarks that the stage is set. The speaker is Gong Lin, standing over his brutally beaten son, Gong Ting. Clutching the whip, Gong Lin yells that he invited a highly prestigious audience just to watch him win. He furiously scolds his son for ruining the perfect performance he had planned. Covered in bloody, raw marks, Gong Ting gasps for air as his father angrily reminds him that he embarrassingly tied with a complete nobody. He coldly declares that Gong Ting will no longer make any decisions, revealing he has already taken control and rigged their upcoming tiebreaker match. Gong Ting hangs his head in utter defeat as his father coldly says he will handle this little situation himself. He vows to secure that victory by any means necessary, completely obsessed with keeping first place inside the Gong family bloodline. Back home, hearing the unbelievable news, Si-yoon turns to her brother and asks if the Si-Chen on TV is actually him. Si-Chen just keeps calmly eating his dinner, casually confirming that it is indeed him. Completely floored by his words, Si-yoon drops her spoon, which shatters against the floor as a sudden flash of lightning mirrors her shock. She stares at him in pure disbelief, slowly realizing her quiet brother achieved something so legendary during his graduation assessment. She is absolutely amazed that he did not just lead his team to a perfect score, but even got personally praised by the Elite Guild Alliance vice chairman. A heavy, stunned silence settles over the dinner table. Overwhelmed with pride, Si-yoon ducks her head to wipe away tears of joy. She smiles warmly at her silly brother, Si-Chen, realizing he has finally climbed his way to the absolute top. Flashback to the graduation combat exam on June 17, 2157. Vice Chairman Carl Cavendish is kicking back in a private dining room, enjoying some premium steak. Between bites, Carl asks his companion for an update on her current mission. Sitting directly across from him is none other than Ling Yu. She quietly slides over a black folder containing highly classified documents on a target named the Devourer. Ling Yu explains that the target left absolutely zero tracks this past year, warning that their own spies might get caught. Carl brushes off the danger, compliments her progress, and tells her to eat. But Ling Yu she mentions a highly suspicious person who recently got in touch with Carl, which immediately makes him lock in. She warns his growth speed is completely unnatural, and you already know exactly who that is. Back inside the Devil Tower, a shirtless Si-Chen is crackling with intense golden electricity. He has spent over 2 weeks clearing out almost every single monster here. By now, he is fully used to this punishing 10 times gravity. Pulling up his system screen, his Lightning Assassin class is sitting at level 17, with massively boosted stats. Thanks to that graduation duel, his Lightning Assassin class reached max proficiency, earning him a rare attribute point. This confirms it. Actively using a class is the key to leveling up. Looking at his 4 glowing class avatars, Si-Chen realizes none of them have capped out. He pumps his fresh points straight into speed, the ultimate stat for any true assassin. That multiplier rockets his speed to 740, matching a high A-rank assassin. But even with that godlike speed, he is locked in a tense standoff against a pack of glowing purple phantom lionesses. His biggest headache is the boss of this floor, a gigantic phantom lion king he cannot seem to land a hit on. As 2 lionesses suddenly lunge, Si-Chen triggers his divine flash, transforming into a flash of pure golden lightning to meet them. But the Lion King's got some weird tricks. Every single time Si-Chen spots an opening, the massive beast blinks out of existence before the blade connects. He analyzes their combat patterns. They shift positions lightning fast, but there are always 2 attacking up close while the other 2 wait on standby. Meanwhile, the Lion King keeps a safe distance. Si-Chen narrows his eyes, highly annoyed that this boss flat-out refuses to fight him head-on. Glaring at the giant monster, Si-Chen wonders what kind of cheap class this slippery Lion King is actually running. As another phantom lioness charges, Si-Chen counters, shoving a heavy bolt of crackling lightning straight down its throat. Right before the devastating impact, the monster evaporates in a pink flash, leaving our main character completely empty-handed. It hits him this teleportation trick isn't just for the boss. Every single lioness vanishes the moment he tries to finish them off. A tiny rift in space rips open, letting the targeted beast safely spawn right next to their king. Now the strategy is clear. The second he stops to think, another lioness leaps in to bait out his next move. Hoping to break their perfect rhythm, Si-Chen charges up his golden lightning and unleashes an insane flurry of rapid slashes. But it is useless. They keep disappearing right before his blades bite. They maintain a strict formation, instantly blinking back to safety near their king. The glowing, razor-sharp claws keep coming, forcing Si-Chen to play defense. Every single counterattack ends the exact same way, with the beast vanishing right before taking damage. They swap places effortlessly through those portals, keeping a fresh attacker on him. Si-Chen swings with everything he has, but they just keep slipping away right at the split second of impact. The beasts keep running this endless loop of attacks. It is a total battle of attrition. Dripping with sweat, Si-Chen glares at the smug Lion King, Realizing this boss is dragging the fight out just to play with him, he leaps high into the air to evade them. He questions why he is trying so hard to outrun teleporting monsters using only raw speed. But here is where things get really wild as he pulls up his menu for a major class switch. As thick sheets of ice form heavy armor around him, he realizes that if the boss won't fight up close, he shouldn't either. The shift turns his hair pure white and makes his eyes burn with a cold blue fire. It is time for a mage class to completely freeze their slippery tricks. The system chiming and confirms his transition to his level 17 Cloud Mage class Frostbone Skeleton King. Standing tall under a crown of solid ice, Chen prepares to unleash some heavy area of effect magic to freeze this entire arena. Now, hovering high in his level 17 Cloud Mage class, the Frostbone Skeleton King, Chen unleashes a wide-scale spell called Frost Spike. A heavy storm of ice spikes rains down, deadly, triggering huge explosions that force the phantom lionesses to scatter in panic. Watching from above, Chen notes that while mages struggle up close, their long-range attacks absolutely dominate the entire battlefield. He targets the Lion King next with a focused hail of sharp icicles, but right before impact, the beast blinks out of existence. Stepping out of a portal far away, the Lion King easily dodges the freezing blow. But right as the beast gathers with its pack, a colossal swirling vortex of ice traps them all, ruining their hit-and-run plans. Chen smiles, knowing he has successfully forced his target straight into a lethal trap. Feeling the sudden chill, the terrified Lion King looks up to see Chen gathering an insanely massive frost blast bomb. Get ready because Chen coldly tells them there is absolutely nowhere left to hide. The desperate monster roars. It is hopeless. Chen drops the colossal sphere, detonating it right on their heads. The blast blankets everything in freezing white light, and when the flash finally fades away, the absolute devastation of his high-tier spell is shown, leaving the entire pack frozen solid inside jagged pillars of ice. His prey is fully trapped. Time to switch classes. He instantly summons a glowing pink sword into his palm. His eyes flash blue as he calmly declares that this fight on the first floor of the Dread Spire is over. Activating his Stellar Warrior class, Chen leaps forward and unleashes a heavy downward strike called Triple Cataclysm. The massive blade easily tears through the frozen beasts, shattering their ice cages in a single sweep. The monsters instantly dissolve into dark mist, leaving only the fallen boss before him. The system logs his victory, leveling up his Ash Sea alias to 24 and rewarding him with Phantomane bones and a rare heart. A fresh system notification pops up, showing the defeated boss is ready to be devoured. Chen stands over it, silent, ready. He gathers a bright light in his palm to start absorbing the essence. His eyes glow crimson as he focuses, eager to discover what kind of slippery class this beast was utilizing. Activating his absorber skill, Chen pulls a swirling vortex of deep red energy straight into his hand. The mist solidifies into a brand new card, revealing the boss's Stellar Tamer class. The card breaks down those annoying skills, showing how it forces contracts and instantly teleports minions around. Staring at the Stellar Tamer card, Chen notes that he's never run into a class like this before. It makes total sense. The boss was too weak to fight directly. He realizes the Lion King's stats were incredibly low, forcing it to constantly hide behind those teleporting minions. Scanning the unique skills, Chen admits that the Stellar Warp teleport trick is pretty amazing. He's also quite interested in Stellar Pact, even if it requires intimidating the monster into total submission first. To tame his own companion down the road, he'll definitely need to use a pretty terrifying approach. Suddenly, the starry void shatters. Blinding light. The entire environment around him completely transforms. The illusion shatters, revealing the actual first floor of the Dread Spire, a scorching desert of rolling dunes. Looking around at the barren wasteland and massive rib cages half buried in the sand, Chen wonders what catastrophic event caused this. Suddenly, a strange crackling sound echoes from a nearby dune. A vertical tear expands into a fiery portal, showing the path upstairs is finally open. Just as he gets ready to move, a hostile growl from the shadows behind him forces him to spin around. Wait, what's that? He traces some glowing pink eyes to a giant ribcage, finding a tiny, fluffy lion cub bound in heavy chains. A survivor? Chen is honestly surprised to see this little lion somehow manage to live. Believing it to be the last enemy standing, he conjures a lightning dagger, ready to finish it off. But walking up to the shivering creature, he notices a key detail. Since the cub didn't vanish when the boss died, it couldn't have been a summoned minion. Staring closer at the tight chains wrapping its tiny body, Chen realizes the Lion King must have kept this little guy imprisoned against its own will. Looking down at the bound cub, Chen flashes an intimidating glare that completely terrifies the little creature. Yet instead of striking, he quickly swings his dagger, shattering the heavy magical bindings in one clean slice. Free at last, the tiny lion cub tumbles safely onto the soft sand below. Chen turns to leave, calmly telling the cub that he is giving its freedom back. Before walking away, Chen asks if this ruined wasteland used to be its home. The tiny lion shakes off the dust while watching him go. Looking on with sympathy, Chen quietly reflects on how painful it is to watch your loved ones die and see everything destroyed. The cub keeps staring at him as Chen admits he knows exactly how that agonizing pain feels. Heading toward the fiery portal, Chen tells the cub to stay alive and keep moving forward, because it is time for him to climb to the next floor. Suddenly, a glowing system window pops up right next to his face, displaying a beast contract request. Since the creature initiated it, the success rate is a perfect 100%. This contract also unlocks 2 passive skills, sharing experience to boost his attributes, and letting Chen see through the beast's eyes whenever it is in real danger. Chen stops and looks back, genuinely shocked by the sudden prompt. The white cub sits on the desert sand, looking up at him as the system identifies it as Lion King Leo. It asks if Chen will accept the small creature's request to become his contracted beast. Chen stares down at the tiny lion cub, Lion King Leo, asking if it really wants to join him. The cub answers with a resolute, fierce roar. Standing at the blazing portal, Chen shares his master plan to climb, warning the creature that the incoming monsters will only get more terrifying. He warns that it could easily die, asking for its final decision. Leo roars fiercely. Seeing that burning resolve, Chen accepts its decision. Both of their eyes glow with a bright pink magic circle. The system confirms the contract is complete, officially forging their deep bond. The system displays his new Stellar Tamer class and the Stellar Pact skill, which allows force contracts based on intimidation, though the beast dies if its master perishes. Instantly, 2 passive skills are activated. One increases the beast's stats by sharing combat experience, while the other grants the master the beast's vision during extreme emergencies. Finally, Stellar Warp unlocks, letting him teleport to or summon his companion. With their contract fully formalized, Chen smiles and says it is time to move out. The hyperactive cub bounces happily right alongside him. Approaching the swirling vortex of flames, Chen gives Leo one single rule. Its only focus during combat is survival. And with that, Chen steps forward. They emerge onto a rocky cliff overlooking a massive volcanic underworld filled with bubbling molten rock and towering pillars of liquid fire. Sweating buckets, Chen complains about the extreme heat, feeling like the intense volcanic temperature could melt him right on the spot. While they explore, Leo peers curiously over a molten chasm. Chen admits he has no clue what lies ahead, but a weird splash near the lava suddenly startles the cub. Blinding light suddenly erupts. You won't believe how fast this happens. Chen's eyes flash red as he senses a massive threat, but a lightning-fast blast shoots straight through his chest. Chen bolts upright in his real-world bed, gasping for air while clutching his aching chest. Can you believe he got vaporized instantly? He didn't even see his attacker. Still shaking from the ghost pain of dying, he wonders what kind of absolute monster rules that volcanic second floor. His dread is cut short when his sweet sister, Si-yoon, yells from the kitchen that breakfast is ready. At the table, Chen stares at a massive breakfast of ramen and fresh fruit. He tells Si-yoon, who is packing up, that she made way too much food. Munching on some toast, Si-yoon tells him to wash up the dishes and reminds him to hang the wet laundry later. Watching her lace up her shoes, Chen asks where she is rushing. She replies that she is heading to a summer job. Worried, Chen reminds her that he is earning enough and she does not need to work. Si-yoon smiles, explaining that after seeing his recent success, she refuses to be left behind. She adds that doing absolutely nothing all summer sounds terrible, then cheerfully reminds him to do his chores before running out. Following her instructions, Chen washes the dishes and hangs up the laundry. Finishing up, he reflects that his sister has always been this way. Looking at their framed photo, he admires how tough and incredibly unshakable she is. Ironically, even though she is not an adult, he often feels like she is actually the one looking after him. Soon, his thoughts darken toward his heavy future responsibilities. Once his school stuff is settled, he must face the terrifying Demon King Wrath. This battle will keep him away from Si-yoon for a long time. Recalling her bright smile, he admits she is the absolute only person he cannot stop worrying about. Suddenly, a brilliant idea strikes him. Pressing his fingers to his temple, he wonders if a wild experiment might actually work. His eyes glow pink as he channels his cosmic abilities. Suddenly, a portal materializes and Lion King Leo tumbles right out. Chen just stares. He is absolutely amazed that he can summon his contracted beast right out of the Dread Spire and into the real world. That energetic little cub is making himself right at home, darting around and tearing up tissues. Looking at his system interface, Chen forms a solid plan. He can command Leo to protect his sister while he is away. Thanks to his passive skills, if she gets in danger, he will share the beast's vision and teleport to her rescue. Knowing Si-yoon adores animals, he remembers her happily petting strays. Watching his beast, Chen smiles, confident this little lion cub is the perfect gift. Suddenly, a loud crash from the kitchen breaks his train of thought, prompting him to investigate. Hoping Si-yoon loves her pet, his confidence instantly dies when he sees the wrecked kitchen. That tiny cub is causing absolute chaos, shattering plates and happily gnawing on the faucet. Outside in the city at sunset, a dark energy surge destroys a security camera, leaving the street completely unmonitored. Beneath it, a bleeding man clutches an ice blade and retreats in terror. He begs his invisible attacker as a massive, horrifying demonic claw suddenly forms right before his eyes. The demonic claw lunges forward, brutally impaling the helpless man straight through his chest. His eyes widen in horror as glowing crimson tendrils hoist him high up into the air. A creepy system screen pops up, its loading bar coldly showing the man is being eaten alive. Meanwhile, an exhausted Si-yoon slowly walks home, carrying bags from her tiring summer job. She sighs in relief, her feet completely sore after surviving the crazy summer bubble tea rush as she heads into a dark underpass. And look at that, she walks right underneath that freshly smashed security camera. As her footsteps echo, a creepy presence makes her freeze. She spins around in shock when a cold voice from the darkness announces that she is finally here. Waiting in that shadowy tunnel, Jin-do-waxon holds a massive bouquet of red roses, showing he has been waiting a long time. He steps right into her path, offering her the flowers. He mentions she ran off too fast to hear his invitation, adding that he booked the entire top floor of Purple Peak Tower just for them tonight. Staring at the flowers, Si-yoon asks how he got her address. Jin-do-waxon proudly brags about his dad being the city hospital director, claiming tracking down tiny details like this is a total breeze. Unimpressed, Si-yoon coldly replies that they belong in different worlds, warns him never to find her again, and walks off. Furious, Jin-do-waxon grabs her arm to stop her. He whines about all the strings he had to pull for their reservation, demanding to know if she really plans to stand him up and humiliate him. Si-yoon just gladdies, flatly stating that she does not care about his reputation. She calls him out, telling him it is extremely creepy that he literally stalked her home. Absolutely triggered by the word creepy, Jin-do-waxon completely snaps. With a sinister look, he threatens her, warning that she has no idea who she is messing with or what he is capable of. Before he can even finish his sentence, Si-yoon lunges forward and delivers a brutal headbutt straight to his face, sending him crashing to the dirt as he clutches his bloody nose in agony. Standing over him, a furious Si-yoon tells him to go get his head checked at his dad's precious hospital. Storming off, she warns him to stay away, complaining that his pathetic little stunt completely ruined her day. Later that night, a warm light glows from her apartment window, looking like a safe haven compared to the dark, creepy alleyways outside. Back at home, Si-yoon is completely amazed when she gets presented with a fluffy white lion cub named Leo. Her eyes instantly spark with pure love. Eagerly snuggling the tiny beast, she is head over heels and asks her big brother, Chen, where on earth he found this adorable thing. Chen introduces the cub as Leo, explaining he is a special gift just for her, leaving her completely stunned that she actually gets to keep a baby lion. While Leo purrs in her arms, Si-yoon spots a bizarre detail, wondering why a tiny cub already has a massive mane when normally only full-grown males get them. Quickly brushing past the mystery, she decides she will just get him registered in the morning. Watching them bond, Chen feels a massive wave of relief, knowing his sister will stay perfectly safe with this beast protecting her while he is away. Suddenly, a loud chime from Chen's phone cuts through the air, prompting him to glance down at the glowing screen. A satisfied grin spreads across his face as he reads a notification from the Guild's Supervision Bureau, confirming his application is officially approved. Feeling incredibly relieved, Chen knows everything can now go exactly as planned, especially since his home is protected and all his paperwork is finished. He is finally ready for his next massive challenge, the high-stakes graduation tiebreaker match against Gong Ting in 6 days. 6 days later, the tiebreaker exam begins on the city outskirts deep within Greenlight Forest. Director Gong Xuan tells both competitors to pay close attention as he lays out the details. Standing near a glowing green portal at the foot of an ancient tree, Gong Xuan announces the Academy chose this untamed dungeon for their tiebreaker. He adds that recent evaluations rate this location as a D-rank dungeon, confirming that both Chen and Gong Ting will step inside together to face the exact same test. He warns the students that wild dungeons are unmapped, making them far more dangerous than their usual school training grounds. Because of this risk, 3 elite guild members from Esternia will tag along as field examiners. They are entering the zone with the students to keep everyone safe while grading their every move. This pro team features Ivan from the Imperial Guild, Yasmin Kai from the Divine Eye Guild, and Sato Woda from the Silver Guild. Director Gong Sun explains that the final grades depend entirely on what these 3 examiners witness. Meanwhile, a live feed of the trial plays inside a dark VIP room. Watching the monitor, Gonglin just smirks. He silently hopes those 3 examiners pull off their secret deal smoothly, leaving absolutely no loose ends behind. Right next to him, Principal Yuan Long asks Vice Chairman Carl Cavendish why he is still hanging around when his schedule wrapped up 2 days ago. Carl Cavendish just laughs, his eyes locked on Chen and Gongting. He says nothing is more entertaining than this, admitting he has not seen two genuine geniuses clash in ages, and he is not missing it. Gesturing toward the glowing green portal, Director Gongsun loudly announces the official start of this final graduation exam. With tensions flaring, the big match between Chen and Gongting finally starts. Both of them step straight into the glowing gateway. Chen walks out on the other side, still covered in that lingering green energy. He scans his new environment, finding himself in a gloomy, desolate wasteland filled with dead trees. Standing near the entrance, the examiners study this creepy zone, Yasmin Kai guessing it is a flower-type dungeon. Beside her, Ivan offers Sato Woda a smoke, but he gets quickly shushed, reminding him they are on duty while the drone is filming. But suddenly, an intense buzzing noise goes off inside Chen's head. He looks down in absolute shock as a bright red hologram flashes from his chest, bathing his face in a crimson light. Look at that massive screen warning him that some highly dangerous creature is lurking nearby. Completely stunned, Chen realizes this is the very first time his demon heart has ever reacted like this. Just as fast, the warning disappears, leaving Chen wondering if an actual high-tier monster is hiding in his simple D-rank zone. He and Gongting push forward down a bleak path lined with massive, twisted roots and gnarled branches. Gongting confidently takes the lead through the thick fog while Chen trails quietly behind him. Watching them from a high ridge, Yasmin Kai notes how suffocating the fog feels. Next to her, Sato Wada tells the team to stay sharp and keep their eyes glued to the students. Suddenly, a loud crack breaks the quiet as the rocky ground explodes right in front of them. A hideous, massive insect explodes from the dirt, identified by the system as a poison cage ant, a D-rank flower archer. Moving instantly, Gongting draws his katana and charges right at the giant bug. Seeing this, Ivan praises his crazy fast reaction time. But Sato Woda warns that wild dungeon monsters are faster, way meaner, and way more vicious than any monster they fight in class. The poison cage ant fires a toxic blast of glowing green needles, but Gongting swiftly deflects every single shot with his blade. Leaping into the air with a smooth, powerful swing, Gongting slices the massive bug cleanly in half, sending its torso crashing to the dirt. Gongting's sword glows with bright golden energy as he drives it straight down into the dying monster. Channeling his nuclear warrior class, his devastating blade barrage completely vaporizes the giant bug. Watching this, Yasmin Kai casts a glowing green 10 right from her wrist. She gives Gongting a perfect score for his quick field work, praising his insane reflexes and how easily he shut down those poison shots. Ivan also flashes a perfect 10, loving how smart he fought. By cutting off that poison organ first, he completely neutralized the threat. Sato Woda proudly raises his own 10, giving top marks for raw power and that incredibly clean, decisive execution. As Gongting stands there holding his glowing weapon, the examiners are blown away by his perfect positioning and control. They agree that keeping this kind of cool composure is truly exceptional for a student. Then, Sato Wada points over towards Chen, who is just strolling away with his hands in his pockets. Sato Wada trashes him for not even reacting to the danger, calling this lazy attitude a total failure. Gongting stays silent, just staring at his rival's incredibly relaxed and unbothered face. Inside the VIP suite, Carl Cavendish and Principal Yuan Long keep their eyes glued to Chen. Carl casually asks the principal what he thinks the kid is really trying to pull off out there in the heavy fog. With a knowing smile, Principal Yuan Long guesses that Chen is actively hunting for something. Down inside the dungeon, the young man stops, lightly tapping his foot against a tangled mass of giant tree roots. This central spot is quite perfect. With one clean sweep, he can wipe out the entire threat. Check this out, golden lightning crackles to life, forming a bright, jagged dagger. Declaring that he has finally located his target, Chen ruthlessly drives the electric blade straight down into the giant roots. That strike sends an absolutely massive shockwave of golden lightning deep underground, violently splitting the earth apart. A hidden nest of poison cage ants gets blasted straight up, completely swallowed and obliterated by the raw electrical energy. Sweating bullets, the shock-filled examiners suddenly realize Chen was actively aiming for that monster nest. They question his sanity, terrified that triggering D-rank monsters will kill them all, as they watch the chaotic explosion unfold. Gongting's usual calm composure totally cracks, leaving him visibly shocked and wondering what Chen will do next. Gathering major momentum, Chen channels raw electricity right into his boots and violently launches himself straight up. Tapping into his lightning assassin class, he triggers his flash god skill, rocketing high into the sky as an incredibly bright streak of golden light. At absolutely insane speeds, Chen instantly intercepts that airborne swarm of poison cage ants. He unleashes a flurry of rapid, relentless slashes against them. Darting quickly between targets midair, he leaves a massive zigzagging web of bright golden lightning behind him, systematically shredding the entire cluster of beasts within seconds before gracefully drifting back down to the ground. As Chen touches down, the remains of those D-rank monsters rain down. Slowly, the golden sparks fade from his hands. Up on the ridge, the three examiners are completely dumbfounded, speechless. Sweating in total disbelief, Sato Wota struggles to make sense of the show while Chen casually brushes green monster blood off his jacket. Can you believe his official school record actually lists him as a mere E-rank awakener? To them, it is completely ridiculous that an E-rank student can just effortlessly shred a huge swarm of D-rank monsters. Knowing they cannot logically justify giving such a perfect run a low score, the corrupt examiners frantically whisper among themselves. Desperate to fulfill their shady deal to sabotage Chen, they try to invent cheap excuses, like calling his style dangerously reckless or finding flaws to penalize his technique. Back inside the VIP observation room, Carl bursts into loud, hearty laughter, praising Principal Yuan Long for correctly guessing that Chen was holding back his true power. Carl points out how incredible it is to see such a wild display when this exam has only just started. He eagerly waits. How will Gong Ting react to this overwhelming power? Standing right behind him, Gong Lin stays dead silent, his face turning incredibly dark as he watches the monitors. Suddenly, the live feed on the giant screen gets completely torn apart by heavy digital static. The video glitches wildly before cutting to complete black, replaced only by a bright red warning showing a lost signal. Principal Yuan Long narrows his eyes, staring directly at the dead screen and demanding to know why this connection is dropping yet again. Right outside the dungeon entrance, sharp warning beeps suddenly blare out from the monitoring gear. A frantic technician types away at his console as the system flashes a critical alert about a massive signal anomaly. The diagnostic screen shows the dungeon's D-rank safety classification violently glitching out and turning into a weird question mark. At the same time, internal communication signals crash down to absolute zero. The technician just stares. The corrupted data makes absolutely no sense. Director Gong Xuan starts breaking into a cold sweat, demanding to know what kind of disaster is taking place inside the dungeon. Their panic reaches a peak when the portal's swirling green energy suddenly vanishes completely. The glowing gateway is totally gone, leaving nothing but a regular, dark cave opening that traps all the candidates inside. Deep inside the quiet dungeon, an eerie, spectral melody begins to echo through the darkness, physically manifesting as glowing pink and green musical notes. Chen freezes on the spot, listening closely to the creepy music. He instantly recognizes the incredibly dark presence hiding behind that tune. This is the voice of the Demon King, Wrath. Outside the dungeon, it is exactly 4 p.m. when the cave entrance suddenly seals itself up, transforming into a solid rock wall. Director Gong Xuan totally panics, demanding to know how the portal disappeared. A frantic technician reports a complete loss of connection, explaining that the equipment threw some major critical signal errors just seconds before. Sweating with heavy anxiety, the director orders his staff to get headquarters on the line immediately. He dreads that a massive disaster has just struck inside the cut-off dungeon. Meanwhile, deep inside, a creepy song literally takes shape as glowing notes floating in the air. Chen and Gong Ting stop in their tracks, watching the bizarre phenomenon gather around them, while the examiners look just as baffled by this creepy change. Yasmin Kai asks if anyone else can hear that, and Sato Wota nods, agreeing it sounds like some freaky melody. Feeling the heavy, rhythmic beat of this dark song, Chen gets incredibly worried. He instantly recognizes that sound it is the voice of the Demon King, Wrath. He frantically wonders why Wrath is inside this low-level dungeon, knowing the Demon King is not supposed to show up for 3 years. Suddenly, the Demon Heart system flashes red, flooding Chen with critical warnings as the interface screams at him that a deadly threat is standing right there. As heavy, vibrating footsteps rattle the stone ground beneath him, Chen realizes something absolutely massive is standing right behind him, and a creepy laugh echoes through the cavern as a giant dark silhouette emerges from the thick fog. Shaken completely by this crushing, heavy aura, Sato Wota frantically wonders what kind of freak is hiding in the mist, just as 2 glowing eyes cut through the darkness. The beast steps forward, revealing a grotesque, humanoid mantis creature that radiates pure dark energy. Look at this nightmare, the creature actually welcomes them, declaring that they have walked straight into its trap. Shocked to hear it talk, Sato Wota realizes that any beast capable of human speech must be at least a high-tier C-rank monster. He frantically asks himself how such a high-level beast could ever show up inside a D-rank dungeon. Terrified that this beast will slaughter the students, Sato Wota summons a massive, glowing battle axe and charges straight at it. He yells for everyone to stay back behind him, but before Sato Wota can even swing, the mantis demon counters with insane speed. With one brutal slash, the monster swings its massive scythe and cleanly severs Sato Wota's entire arm. While the other examiners freeze in pure horror, the mantis demon suddenly vanishes, reappearing right behind Gong Ting. Lifting its blood-dripping blade, the monster mocks them, telling them to just lie down and accept their death. With a sickening squelch, the beast drives its blade straight through Gong Ting's shoulder, piercing his chest and snarling at him to die. Despite being impaled, Gong Ting simply grits his teeth through the agonizing pain. Instead of falling, a wild, crazed grin spreads across his face as he exploits the monster being so close. Gong Ting swings his burning golden blade down and slices off the beast's trapped scythe arm, leaving the mantis demon staring in pure shock. Never slowing down, Gong Ting follows up with a heavy mid-air kick, launching the crippled monster flying backward across the rocky ground. Bleeding heavily from the deep hole in his shoulder, Gong Ting ignores the injury entirely, his eyes glowing with fierce determination. He shouts out that since the boss drew first blood, this kill is under the rules of combat priority. He fiercely warns Chen not to interfere, while Chen silently studies the monster, his eyes glowing green as he activates his skill to analyze its stats. The system interface suddenly updates the mantis demon's profile, confirming to everyone that this is a highly dangerous, C-rank, high-tier beast. Seeing the horrific wound in Gong Ting's shoulder, Yasmin Kai screams at him to get medical attention immediately. You can hear the panic in her voice as she begs him to stop the exam, warning that this monster is way out of his league. Gong Ting flatly refuses. Channeling intense flame magic into his hand, he completely refuses to back down. Chen watches in absolute shock as Gong Ting presses his burning hand right onto his bleeding chest, using the searing heat of his own magic to painfully cauterize the gruesome wound. Forcing his way through the agonizing pain, Gong Ting fiercely snaps that this fight only ends when one of them is dead. Without a second thought, Gong Ting leaps high into the air, bringing his blazing sword down on the crippled mantis demon and presses attack. Meanwhile, outside the locked dungeon, Silas Lin, the leader of the Imperial Guild's King Squad, examines the spot where the entrance vanished. He calmly explains that this weird phenomenon means a highly intelligent monster is running things inside, one that intentionally lured the humans inside before snapping the trap shut. Director Gong Xuan panics, desperately asking if they can somehow force the entrance open since the students are still trapped inside. Silas Lin coldly tells him there is only one way to make that exit show up again. Desperate for any glimmer of hope, Director Gong Xuan tries to rationalize the dark situation. He thinks that because a standard D-rank dungeon caps out at a C-rank overlord, the trapped students and examiners still stand a pretty decent chance to kill it and escape. Silas quickly shatters that hope. He reveals the initial D-rank reading is just a fake mask, a trick by the overlord to hide its deadly nature. Connecting the clues, Silas realizes something. This exact dungeon is the culprit behind all those recent, mysterious Awakener disappearances. He quietly gives a horrified Gong Xuan the grim news. The trap they face is actually a highly dangerous B-rank dungeon. Meanwhile, deep inside the dungeon, the insect attacks relentlessly with its scythe arms, but Gong Ting stands his ground, parrying every blow with his blazing katana. He quickly leaps back to evade a massive sweep. The beast swings down hard. Gong Ting vaults into the air to dodge. The strike misses, burying its bladed limb deep into the rocky ground. Seizing the moment, Gong Ting yells out, "I have you trapped." With a swift, powerful slice of his glowing blade, he cleanly severs its head. The head tumbles away as the others gather. Yasmin watches in utter disbelief. She can't believe Gong Ting defeated the boss all by himself. She admits his power is pretty terrifying. Ivan heals Sato's injured arm with a warm green glow. He asks if he is feeling any better. Sweating, Sato mutters his thanks. But his relief vanishes instantly the second he checks his smartwatch. He panics, yelling that his signal is completely dead. We are cut off. Yasmin and Ivan immediately freeze and check their own gear. Yasmin confirms her signal is dead. Even their compass positioning is totally gone. Sato panics, demanding to know exactly when the camera drones went offline. Gong Ting looks back in confusion, but suddenly, the headless mantis stands right back up. Without warning, the headless beast lunges straight at a completely shocked Gong Ting. Chen instantly steps in. He unleashes golden lightning that slices the creature to bits, and the system confirms the kill. Shaken up, Gong Ting demands to know how that thing kept moving after getting its head chopped clean off. Chen calmly explains that the mantis was never the actual overlord. It was hypnotized this whole time, fighting even after death. Chen warns the group to get out before they become the next target. Defensive, Gong Ting questions how Chen could ever know that. Sato angrily barks that Chen is losing his mind, since there is only one C-rank overlord here. He argues that the high-tier monster they just killed has to be the boss. Nothing else makes sense. Before Chen can speak, his system screen floods with critical warnings about a highly dangerous creature nearby. Suddenly, a massive pulsing wave of psychic energy sweeps through the dark cavern, hitting Yasmin, Ivan, and Sato. Their eyes glow with a sinister pink light as the true overlord takes absolute control of their minds. Realizing his warning came too late, Chen quickly taps his wireless earbud. He instantly recognizes that pulsating frequency. In his past life, he saw the Demon King, Wrath, use this exact sound to brainwash and slaughter millions of people globally. He turns to see Yasmin, Ivan, and Sato marching forward in a creepy, mindless trance. Knowing this monster is connected to Wrath, Chen coldly resolves to face it head-on. No backing down now. Following the brainwashed examiners deeper into the dark, his system is constantly screaming with warning alerts. Lethal threats are waiting ahead. Soon, they reach a massive, eerie lair packed with glowing green egg sacs. Towering serpents stand guard around a mysterious draped figure. But Chen remains. He is completely unaffected thanks to the counter-frequency track in his earbud, a clever safety precaution he prepared specifically for Wrath. Still, but the others could drop dead from the mental strain at any second. He has to kill this overlord immediately. The sinister entity senses them, its voice echoing through the cavern, hungry for flesh. Chen glares back coldly, ready to fight. Years ago, an exhausted and bloody young Gongting stood over his own brother, Gong Cheng, after beating him bloody with a broken stick. Watching this, their father, Gong Lin, coldly congratulated 8-year-old Gongting on his win, while sitting comfortably at a dining table. Gong Lin explained the brutal rules of their family, where the winner got to eat while the loser, young Gong Cheng, had to kneel outside until sunrise. Left out in the cold, a bruised and beaten Gong Cheng knelt obediently as his starving stomach growled. Gong Ting secretly approached his defeated brother, offering him a piece of bread. Terrified, young Gong Cheng whispered that their father would severely punish them if they got caught. Ignoring the risk, Gong Ting snapped at his brother to shut up and eat, but his kindness was quickly discovered. A brutal slap sent him spinning to the floor, trembling with fear as his father stood over him with a whip. Standing tall over his bloodied son, Gong Lin mockingly asked if the boy finally understood why their clan held such unmatched power. He proudly declared that it was because he himself had never lost a single battle. He drilled that heartless mindset into the boy, stating that winners make the rules and losers just have to obey. Defiant, even while bruised, young Gong Ting asked if beating his own son meant he made the rules, but Gong Lin just laughed. Years later, a broken and bloody Gong Ting collapsed onto his hands and knees, coughing up blood next to his shattered sword. He angrily demanded to know why his father refused a fair duel. He screamed, asking why he ordered Silas Lin to jump in and attack him from behind instead. Totally calm, Gong Lin smirked and explained that his real strength was the power and authority he held over everyone else. Looking down at his beaten son, he declared that the world does not play fair, running on one simple truth instead. You have to win no matter what, drilling into the boy that methods do not matter, only the final result. As a Gong, he was expected to be number one, even if it meant abandoning his family, his loyalty, and his own dreams. Gong Lin coldly ended his lecture, stating that winning was the only reason his son was even allowed to live. Those brutal words echoed in his mind, scarring him forever with the belief that his survival depended entirely on never losing. But back in the present, the group stands directly before a colossal hidden boss monster, nested among giant snakes and pulsing green egg sacs. Chen remains completely unaffected by the mind control, having prepared a special audio frequency in his earbud because he knew he would face this boss eventually. But the brainwashed examiners have zero protection and their minds are about to snap under the heavy strain. He decides to kill the beast right now, but wait right before he can strike, Gong Ting grabs his wrist, desperately whispering for him to stop. To break free from the illusion, Gong Ting tears his fingers right into his own chest wound, spilling fresh blood onto the floor. Gasping from the agonizing pain, he admits he has no idea how Chen resisted the trance, but hurting himself is his only way to stay focused. He warns Chen that a reckless attack will blow their cover and get everyone in this cave slaughtered. Drenched in sweat, he points out the endless glowing eggs surrounding the boss. Wake up that nest, and dozens of C-rank monsters will swarm them with no hope of getting out alive. Look at this trap. This clever boss disguised its lair as a weak dungeon to bait and slaughter unsuspecting hunters. Because of this trick, he knows the monster will eventually wander over, so he pitches a brand new plan. They play dead, and the exact second the boss gets close enough to strike, they launch a surprise attack together. Chen is actually impressed, not expecting Gong Ting to keep such a clear, logical head under this pressure. Even so, Chen completely shoots the plan down. He warns Gong Ting that waiting will not work because this specific monster does not even need to move or physically attack to wipe them out. With just a single thought, it can force anyone under its spell to end their lives. Right as he says this, the brainwashed examiners prepare to do exactly that. Sato grabs a saw, Yasmin aims her gun at her head, and Ivan starts choking himself. Moving like lightning, Chen blitzes forward and knocks all three examiners out cold before they can pull their triggers. That sudden movement catches the Overlord's attention, and realizing its prey is resisting, the monster screams that its food is ruined. Screaming in rage, the beast triggers the glowing green sacs, causing them to burst open violently. Dozens of lethal C-rank mantises claw their way out, and the boss orders the swarm to rip them apart. With the deadly horde closing in, Gong Ting knows their stealth is completely ruined and grabs his backup plan. Drawing his blade, he steps right in front of the knocked-out examiners to protect them. He shouts at Chen to grab the 3 unconscious adults and run, promising to hold off the entire monster horde all by himself. Chen is dead silent, completely thrown off by Gong Ting's sudden choice to throw away his own life for them. Gong Ting knows he cannot take out a whole swarm of C-rank monsters on his own, but he stands tall, yelling that he can at least buy enough time for Chen and the others to escape. Clashing his blazing sword against a lunging mantis, Gong Ting screams that he is taking responsibility for this mess. He blames himself for pushing that tiebreaker duel and dragging everyone into this death trap. Suddenly, the monster's brutal physical strength overpowers him, sending him flying backward. Stabbing his blade deep into the dirt to stop his slide, a gasping Gong Ting stubbornly insists that since he caused this mess, he is going to fix it. But look at Chen, he steps up, realizing he completely misjudged his rival's character. Triggering a class switch on his system, he reminds Gong Ting that they both agreed to the duel. Activating his level 24 Lightning Assassin class, Chen summons a glowing blade of pure, golden electricity. With the mantis swarm closing in and the giant overlord's aura buzzing, Chen channels his golden sparks and smiles, saying he has a plan. Bleeding out, Gong Ting immediately shoots down the idea of fighting. He warns Chen that this overlord is on a totally different level, guessing it is easily a B rank or even an A rank threat. Urgently, he begs Chen to grab the knocked-out examiners and run, shouting that fleeing is their only real option. Chen agrees the monster is a nightmare, but points out a massive flaw since the dungeon gates are completely sealed shut. He says if the exit were actually open, the Imperial Guild rescue teams would have saved them already. Hearing they are trapped inside leaves Gong Ting completely frozen in shock. Chen locks his eyes on the silent overlord, trying to figure out how to survive this death trap. By his guess, if this beast really is A rank, its raw power must be close to the phantom main Lion King he battled in the Dread Spire. Suddenly, the swarm strikes. A mantis demon leaps forward, but Chen casually blocks its massive scythe arm with his lightning dagger. Another mantis swoops down from above, forcing a panicked Gong Ting to scream a quick warning. Before the beast can land its strike, Chen and Gong Ting swing their glowing weapons in perfect sync, slashing the incoming threats instantly. But a second later, the entire screeching swarm charges right at them. Clutching his bleeding chest, Gong Ting grits his teeth, realizing it is only a matter of time before they are completely buried under this wave. But ignoring the impossible odds, Chen focuses his energy. Tapping deep into his Lightning Assassin class, he forms several crackling daggers of electricity right in his palm. With a flick of his wrist, he unleashes a wave of golden electric blades that pierce straight through the charging beasts. Not slowing down, he instantly activates his Flash God skill. Moving at absolute breakneck speed, he charges directly into the horde, taking off multiple heads in one single, blinding dash. Gong Ting is watching this play out, completely stunned by this impossible show of power. Typically, the assassin path has incredibly low base strength, making them pretty much useless when facing massive enemy mobs. Yet, Chen easily dodges a massive scythe attack. That is when Gong Ting notices that every single strike is landing right on a vital weak spot. It is clear that Chen is fully making up for his lack of raw damage with nothing but insane speed and flawless execution. Staring at the blurry afterimages, Gong Ting is blown away by his rival's speed. As Chen clears the remaining horde in a storm of lightning slashes, Gong Ting realizes this crazy speed is easily A-rank tier, maybe even higher. Inspired by those amazing skills, Gong Ting grips his glowing sword with fresh determination, realizing they might actually survive this nightmare. Annoyed by their stubbornness, the Overlord finally steps in, channeling a massive wave of dark pink energy to activate a powerful buff. The dark energy washes over the remaining Mantis demons, spiking their strength and raw energy. With a roar, the Overlord orders its newly buffed swarm to shred Chen to pieces immediately. Chen stands his ground, his electric daggers crackling brighter than ever. One buff mantis tries to crush him, but Chen effortlessly leaps over the blow and slices the beast apart in midair. Seeing the clash escalate, a fired-up Gong Ting yells out to hang tight while readying his own blazing sword. Chen pushes himself to his limits, unleashing a relentless storm of golden slashes against the buffed-up swarm. Out of nowhere, a mantis demon ambushes him from behind. Relying on his insane speed, Chen vanishes into thin air to dodge the lethal strike. He pops back up and counters with a rapid flurry of close-range slashes, but his attacks cannot pierce the monster's tough new armor. The furious mantis strikes back with a heavy blow. Chen blocks the attack, but the sheer force of the impact sends him sliding backward. Gasping for breath, he realizes the Overlord's buff has shoved the stats of these monsters straight into the B-rank tier. Their shells are now as tough as solid iron. This makes stabbing their weak points pretty much impossible. He realizes they have to completely shatter that armor first. From behind, Gong Ting yells out his thanks, knowing Chen just bought him the precious time he needed. Throwing away his speed, stamina, and elemental control without a second thought, he channels every drop of remaining energy into raw power. As flames erupt in a massive, exploding pillar, let's switch gears. Later that evening at the apartment, Jutong finally arrives with the groceries and drinks. Yun, with Leo chilling on her shoulder, tells her not to sweat it, since her brother is not even home yet. Jutong is quite shocked to hear he is still out. Jutong asks if Yun's brother knows she passed her art academy exam. Yun admits she hasn't told him yet, but did hint that she has massive news to share. Assuming he is just running late, she suggests they go ahead and start without him. Right then, Yun holds up an empty jar, realizing they are completely out of garlic sauce. She tells Jutong to hang back at the apartment while she and Leo make a quick run to the store, promising to grab some snacks for a proper celebration. Moments later, Yun finishes grabbing her stuff at a local convenience store and heads back outside. As they walk, Leo happily munches on snacks from inside her backpack. Yun smiles and calls him a little angel for staying so quiet. She warmly praises the cute little cub for being a good boy, promising to buy him cookies on their next run. But without Yun knowing, someone is watching her from a nearby alley. A man standing next to a hooded partner holds up her photo, reporting over his radio that they found the target. He asks if they should make their move. The voice on the radio tells them to wait and tail her until she is clear of the street cameras. The man confirms and keeps trailing her. As Yun heads home, the heavy thuds of footsteps shadow her every move. The stalkers match her pace and close the distance. Knowing they have been tailing her since the store, Yun quietly wonders what on earth they want from her. Hiding inside her backpack, Leo lets out a low, warning growl. Yun gently holds the bag, asking the cub if he senses the threat, too. She whispers for him to stay safe inside. Glancing back at them with a sharp, fearless look, she whispers that things just got interesting. Meanwhile, let's check back on the action in the dungeon. A heavily panting Chen realizes the boss's dark energy has jacked up the bug swarm to a much deadlier threat level. With their shells hardened like solid iron, he knows his blades won't be slicing through them easily anymore. He has to find a way to smash that armor open first. Right then, Gong Ting shouts his thanks, telling Chen that he bought him just enough time. Sacrificing his speed and mana, Gong Ting converts all his remaining power into raw muscle, erupting into a towering column of fire. With his muscles pushed past the limit and his eyes glowing, a furious Gong Ting prepares his final strike. Swinging his blazing sword, he fires off a massive wave of heat, yelling that he will burn these beasts to absolute ash. The devastating wall of fire crashes into the oncoming swarm, incinerating the insect monsters violently. Ripping right through the horde, the giant wave of fire slams directly into the motionless boss. It explodes instantly on impact, engulfing the beast in a massive, blinding inferno. Barely able to stand, Gong Ting collapses to his knees, leaning heavily on his sword for support. He is completely bone dry, out of both physical stamina and magic power. Wiping sweat from his forehead, the exhausted fighter exhales a sigh of relief. As the smoke clears to reveal the charred remains of the bugs, he gasps out happily that the battle is over. But then, an evil laugh echoes from inside the dying embers. The boss mocks them, asking if that was really all they could do. Gong Ting freezes in absolute horror, while Chen calmly turns his gaze toward the voice. As the smoke clears, the boss is revealed to be totally unharmed, safe inside a massive green shield. The monster glares down at them, calling their attack disappointing. Complete terror washes over Gong Ting as all hope drains away. He realized he just expended every single ounce of his power, yet failed to leave even a single scratch on the beast. Staying dead silent, Chen studies the enemy's defense, noticing something odd right before that fiery strike landed. The boss drains the life force right out of those leftover monster eggs, building a shield strong enough to block anything. Barely able to keep his feet, a totally defeated Gong Ting gasps for air. He loses all hope, wondering if this is really how they die. Stepping past the broken Gong Ting, Chen offers a deal. As he starts swapping his combat class, he offers to let Gong Ting take first place on the exam, but only if Chen keeps all the cash. And there is just one strict rule: Gong Ting can never speak a single word about what he is about to see. Summoning a glowing sword, Chen transforms into his secret demonic class. Gong Ting is speechless. His rival actually has two different classes. Without warning, streams of glowing pink energy violently rip themselves right out from the dead bug carcasses. He triggers a skill that drains the lingering power and strength from the nearby dead bodies, channeling it straight into himself. Oh, man. A massive pink energy pillar erupts, shooting his power to insane new heights. Shielding his face from the gale force winds, Gong Ting watches this terrifying show of power in sheer shock. Even the boss pauses, staring silently. Exhaling a thick cloud of raw energy through his fangs, Chen feels his strength and stamina surge to their ultimate peak. Covered in dark demonic energy, he confidently says it again: he is going to slaughter this monster himself. The Overlord counters, immediately casting its spell, Soul Rest Enigma. Pure energy floods out from the glowing green shield, filling the cave with intense psychic pressure that violently slams right into Gong Ting. Bleeding and exhausted, he clutches his head, cursing the mental attack clawing at his brain. But Chen does not even flinch. The Overlord freezes in place as he casually walks forward with his massive sword resting over his shoulder. Utterly baffled, the monster demands to know why its hypnosis spell is not doing anything to him. Desperate to crush him, the Overlord triggers Sonic Hell, blasting a devastating shockwave outward. The force tears through the cave, but Chen stands tall while Gong Ting collapses under the weight, screaming in agony. The Overlord glares at him. Chen glares right back, his eyes burning. He takes another step forward, marching directly toward the shielded boss. Absolute panic grips the Overlord as it stammers, completely unable to comprehend how its attack failed. Ordering its minions to rip him to pieces, a giant shadowy serpent lunges straight at Chen. Gripping his sword tightly, Chen cleaves the serpent head clean in two, sending it crashing down. Two more massive snakes dive at him from above, but he swings his blade in a wide arc, decapitating both in a single sweep. With the path finally cleared, Chen charges straight at the Overlord. The monster laughs, boasting its shield is absolute. But get this, Chen just leaps high into the air, hovering right above it. Suddenly, the system announces his stellar warrior skill, Ossuary Collapse, stealing the leftover life force from the surrounding corpses to fuel his attack. With a thunderous roar, Chen slams his sword down, completely shattering the barrier to pieces. The Overlord stares in pure shock. Gong Ting cannot believe his eyes. His rival just broke that ultimate barrier with one blow. Dropping his blade, Chen charges his fist with blinding energy. The system confirms the launch of Triple Cataclysm in crushing mode. He punches straight through the boss, detonating it from the inside with raw power and slamming the beast violently into the dirt. As the smoke clears, the broken Overlord mutters in defeat, with Chen demanding a talk. He demands to know its connection to Wrath, shocking the monster. How could a mere human know Lord Wrath's name? Our hero demands the truth. The Overlord snarls back if it knew where the Demon King was. It would be breaking his seal, not rotting in this cave. Chen freezes. The shocking truth hits him. Someone in their world actually managed to seal Wrath away. The Overlord cackles, warning that Lord Wrath will inevitably rise again. It vows that the Demon King will reclaim his legion and slaughter every last human on the planet. With that, the boss's core ruptures and dissolves. Chen reaches out as the system activates, absorbing the glowing green essence. The system confirms the absorption, unlocking a new Flower Mage class called Phantom Sorcerer, complete with psychic attacks and barrier skills. His level jumps to 25, earning him 3 rare black-scale snake galls. Looking over his new class, Chen connects the dots. Wrath did not just show up from nowhere in the future. The Demon King was already trapped here long before the massive invasion ever started. Some secret, massive conflict must have happened to seal him, and Chen has absolutely no idea what it was. His focus snaps when he sees Gong Ting limping closer. Hurting and coughing blood, Gong Ting confesses he never expected a dual-class opponent. He admits that Chen is on a completely different level, giving him the win for their intense duel. Gong Ting promises to keep Chen's secret totally safe, swearing to take everything he saw to his grave. His body finally gives out. Coughing up more blood, he slumps against the stone wall while Chen tells him to hold on. Since the Overlord is dead, the dungeon exit should open up and the rescue teams will arrive any second now. Then Chen completely freezes. His passive skill suddenly triggers, flooding his mind with a direct warning. The system forces a psychic vision on him, showing exactly what his contracted beast. Leo sees a creepy guy radiating dark, swirling energy. Chen realizes Leo's location and screams his sister's name. The link shows an awakener with glowing green eyes using shadowy tentacles. This psycho is backing a terrified Si-Yun into a corner while she clutches Leo tightly, shielding her tiny cub from those gross creeping limbs. Rewinding back to late afternoon on June 24th, Si-Yun was heading home through narrow city alleys. Ever since she stepped out of the local convenience store, she noticed some seriously creepy shadows matching her every step. 2 smirking thugs were trailing right behind her. Tucked away inside her backpack, little Leo sensed the danger as well, letting out a soft, protective growl. Feeling her backpack shift, Si-Yun asked her little partner he was sensing the danger too. But instead of losing her cool, she hugged the bag and told him to stay hidden. Showing zero fear, Si-Yun turned around with a pretty fierce glare. Talk about fearless, she was actually somehow glad they followed her because her boring night just got way more exciting. She quickly relied on her survival instincts. When you have stalkers, rule number 1 is to find a massive crowd. Running down a nearby flight of stairs, she headed straight toward the busy market streets. At this hour, the nearby restaurant district was absolutely packed. Using that heavy dinner rush chaos to her advantage, she quickly slipped into the sea of people, easily blending in with shoppers to break her stalker's line of sight. Behind her, the thugs were quickly losing ground. The guy in the beanie started aggressively shoving bystanders aside, desperately trying to force his way through, but Si-yoon's quick getaway game was honestly on point. The exact second they got distracted by the heavy crowd and looked away, she vanished into thin air. Those two thugs were left standing in the street, totally stunned. They panicked, looking everywhere for any sign of her. Meanwhile, Si-yoon made a quick dash into a dark, quiet alleyway to hide. Catching her breath, she peeked back, feeling relieved to confirm those creepy guys were finally gone. Just as Si-yoon thought she escaped, a heavy footstep echoed right in front of her. She froze in her tracks, startled by a shady old man with slicked white hair standing right on her apartment steps. Casually puffing on his cigarette, he mockingly complained about waiting forever because the main entrance door was locked. Her heart sank as she realized this was a coordinated trap. Terrified, Si-yoon backed away, demanding to know who they were and how they found her place. Before she could get answers, the two thugs from before blocked her exit, laughing about how fast the little chick could run. Realizing she was completely trapped, Si-yoon made a desperate break for it, dashing down the corridor while the hunters laughed at her useless attempt. But get this, these creeps were actually rogue awakeners, not normal thugs. Suddenly, a blast of freezing magic shot out, locking her foot solid to the cold pavement. The momentum sent her crashing face first onto the concrete, knocking her backpack away. Her frozen foot felt completely shattered as a cold, glowing hand loomed over her. That disgusting beanie thug stood over her, drooling like a complete psycho. He mockingly asked if she was all tired out, telling her to rest up and keep him entertained. Just as the creep was about to touch her, Si-yoon screamed out in pure panic. But before the creep could even reach her, a giant glowing paw slammed directly into his face with massive force, sending him flying backward to crash brutally onto the street, totally shocking their white-haired leader. A heavy thud rattled the ground. Stepping directly in front of a trembling Si-yoon was a colossal, majestic white lion. Si-yoon was completely stunned, staring at the majestic, glowing beast. Her eyes widened in disbelief, realizing this legendary predator was actually her little Leo. The beanie thug clutched his bleeding face, screaming out in absolute horror. He frantically yelled to his boss, crying that the client who hired them never mentioned they would fight a giant, overpowered monster lion. Leo lets out a deafening, earth-shaking roar that echoes down the dark alley. Absolutely terrified, the hooded stalker panics, frantically charging yellow lightning into his fists to defend himself. But holding that massive, legendary form is just too exhausting for a baby cub. Right after his grand entrance, Leo's energy runs out and he immediately shrinks. He tumbles onto his back in his tiny, cute form, completely dizzy. Seeing her fluffy little guardian instantly pass out from exhaustion, Si-yoon panics and scoops the tiny champion up in her arms, frantically checking to see if he's okay after burning through his power. Watching the legendary lion shrink back into a helpless, dizzy baby, the white-haired leader looks on with absolute disappointment. He scoffs. He mutters that he actually thought the beast would be something special. With a cold snap of his fingers, he decides to end the game, revealing his own terrifying awakener power. Massive, thorny wooden roots violently rip straight through the concrete floor, swarming the narrow alleyway as he sneers that the cub couldn't even hold its form for 10 seconds. The giant, writhing vines swirl and coil around Si-yoon, trapping her in a thorny, living cage. Clutching a dazed Leo to her chest, she desperately warns the man to stay back, but her warnings mean nothing to a seasoned killer. Coiling the sharp, thorny branches closer to her face, the leader coldly tells her not to waste his time. He gives her a terrifying ultimatum: hand the beast over, or he will gladly tear it from her corpse. You feel a hype yet? Just as the leader is about to close his trap, Leo's eyes flash and stellar warp triggers. Draining his remaining control, a massive warp portal opens, and in a flash of pink light, Chen teleports directly to Leo's location and delivers a devastating kick straight to the leader's face. The sheer kinetic force of the teleport strike sends the thug flying backward like a ragdoll, crashing brutally through the metal alleyway bins. Chen calmly turns to his sister and apologizes for being late, casually explaining that his dungeon raid took a bit longer than expected before asking if she and Leo are okay. The hooded thug is completely bewildered, wondering where this overpowered monster of a guy suddenly spawned from. Still deeply shaken, Si-yoon frantically tries to explain the situation, warning him that she has no idea how they tracked her down, and that these guys are all high-level awakeners. But Chen just looks back with a reassuring smile, telling her to take a breath because her big brother is here. Meanwhile, the leader crawls from the rubble. Seeing his plan get instantly disrupted, he snaps, absolutely furious at himself for letting his guard down for even a second. With thorny wooden roots coiling tightly around his body, he screams that Chen has just made the biggest mistake of his life, vowing to bring their decapitated heads back to his client and demand triple the pay. But our guy doesn't even flinch. Here we go. Golden lightning begins to crackle around his knuckles. Chen calmly tells Si-yoon to get behind him and stay there, promising that this is not going to take long. Chen recalled his childhood, back when he was getting absolutely pulverized in a dusty alleyway. Leading the beat down was an orange-haired bully who also happened to be his cousin, screaming at him to finally learn his place. The thugs pinned young Chen to the dirty floor, intending to break his spirit. But the bullies did not count on Yun. A young Yun suddenly charged into the alleyway wielding a massive metal pipe, ordering the thugs to get their hands off her brother. The arrogant orange-haired cousin was not intimidated at all, mockingly laughing at the idea of this tiny girl trying to play savior. Seeing the gang shift their focus to his sister, a panicked Chen desperately screamed at his cousin not to take a single step toward her. He desperately reminded the bully of his solemn promise never to lay a hand on Yun, but the smug cousin just laughed it off, admitting he lied. He proudly boasted that today was the day he finally beat some humility into his insufferable family. But while the ringleader was busy monologuing, he made a fatal mistake. Exploiting the distraction, young Chen spotted a heavy brick on the ground, grabbed it, and violently smashed it directly into the face of the thug holding him down, shocking everyone. Young Chen was absolutely furious. Raising his bloody brick, he charged straight toward his cousin. The arrogant orange-haired ringleader's face instantly paled as he watched Chen sprint at him with pure murderous intent. Chen delivered a brutal brick smash directly to his cousin's face for breaking his word, sending him crashing heavily onto the concrete pavement. Bleeding and crying on the floor, the defeated cousin shrieked in terror, calling Chen a complete psychopath. Catching his breath, young Chen dropped his weapon, gently telling a trembling Yun that everything was okay and she did not need to be afraid. Back in the present, Chen tells Yun to stay tucked safely out of harm's way, calmly promising his sister he will wrap this up quickly. Refusing to let their target escape, the stalkers charge straight at him, ready to cut him down. Clutching little Leo, Yun panics. She frantically warns him that he is facing 3 highly dangerous, unhinged awakeners, convinced there is no way her brother can fight them all at once. The hooded thug charges in, winding up a massive lightning fist. He mocks Chen for just standing there and making no effort to defend himself. But before the guy can even register what is happening, Chen counters with a single devastating punch, sending him flying headfirst straight into the concrete wall. Watching her brother effortlessly fold a high-level awaker with one hand, Yun is left completely speechless. Right on cue, the bleeding beanie thug leaps forward, desperately lunging with his glowing elemental dagger. Without even breaking a sweat, Chen catches his wrist midair. Then, he drives a brutal knee strike straight into his face. The sheer kinetic force of the strike launches him backward, leaving the beanie thug completely crumpled in the trash. Instantly, a massive thorny wooden root rips through the alley toward him. But with insane reaction speed, Chen effortlessly tilts his head to evade the surprise attack, as the heavy vine misses entirely, snapping violently against the brick wall behind him. Seeing his subordinates easily taken out, the white-haired leader completely loses his mind, screaming in fury that a mere kid in a school uniform is making a mockery of them. Channeling his plant magic, the boss summons massive wooden spikes, furiously vowing to turn Chen into a pincushion. But Chen remains completely calm, and tapping into his godlike agility, watch how he seamlessly slips and weaves through the incoming storm of razor-sharp vines without a single scratch. In one swift motion, Chen launches himself straight through a gap in the defenses, closing the distance instantly. The white-haired boss is horrified, screaming that this should not be possible and panicking over how anyone can move like that. Watching him dominate, Yun suddenly realizes something, having nearly forgotten that her brother did not just barely scrape by his graduation combat exam. He completely and utterly destroyed the competition. Chen winds up his fist and delivers a punch straight to the leader's jaw, showing the gang that he operates on a completely different dimension of power. The sheer impact launches the boss backward like a missile, crashing him brutally straight into the alleyway wall. And just like that, the boss is out cold, bleeding, and utterly defeated on the hard pavement. Over in the trash bins, the beanie thug remains completely unresponsive, while the hooded thug is slumped against the wall, thoroughly unconscious. The entire threat has been completely dismantled in under a single minute. Casually dusting off his clothes, Chen turns to his sister, telling her to take little Leo and head straight back home where it is safe. He reassures her with a smile, promising he will quickly dump these clowns at the local guard station and meet her back at the apartment before she knows it. Still, a little dazed by the sheer spectacle, but feeling completely safe, Yun tightly clutches her fluffy cub and happily agrees to head home first. Several hours later, under the dim light of a crescent moon, the severely beaten white-haired leader slowly begins to drift back to consciousness. Groaning in pain, the battered boss struggles to open his blood-caked eyes, but his confusion quickly turns to absolute dread. He realizes that he and his 2 thugs have been stripped of their weapons, bound tightly back-to-back around a concrete pillar with Chen staring directly down at them. The leader immediately panics, hysterically demanding to know where they are and why they were dragged to this isolated spot, while the beanie thug whimpers that his shattered skull literally feels like it is cracking in half. Remaining completely unfazed by their whimpering, Chen coldly asks if they belong to the Black Mountain Society. Knowing they never lift a finger without getting paid first, he directly demands to know who is bankrolling their operation to kidnap his sister. The battered boss just chuckles bloodily, refusing to talk. He arrogantly explains that snitching is a death sentence in their line of work, so he has no intention of opening his mouth, but Chen does not even bat an eye. Recognizing that they want to play tough, he calmly sighs, deciding they can do this the hard way. Suddenly, a dark swirling energy wraps around him as his system initiates a class switch. System confirmation. The class switch is complete, unlocking Chen's terrifying level 25 Phantom Sorcerer power. With dark psychic manipulation spells like Soul, Rest, Enigma, and Ripple hell ready, he is about to give these mercenaries a brutal dose of mental torture they will never forget. Getting straight to the interrogation, Chen wastes zero time activating his newly acquired Phantom Sorcerer magic to forcefully tear right into the white-haired leader's mind. Total fracture. Under his hypnosis spell, the mercenaries' mental defenses completely collapse. Suddenly, a massive thorny root erupts straight out of the concrete floor right beside them. Terrified by the sudden attack, the beanie-wearing thug screams in panic. What is happening to his boss? Unmoved by their screams, Chen activates Soul Rest Enigma, targeting the legs. A sharp vine shoots forward, piercing cleanly through the leader's thigh and painting the floor bright red. Hands are next. Chen calmly marks them as his target. Another thorny branch thrusts straight up, impaling the mercenary's palm so he can never threaten anyone again. Honestly, this brutal agony is exactly what they deserve for ever trying to lay a finger on his sister. Pure terror. Watching his partner get dismantled so easily, the beanie-wearing thug loses all his courage. He shrieks in pure horror at the monster standing before him. With a cold glare, Chen tells him it is his turn now, and the wooden roots coil closer to start the nightmare all over again. The terrifying threat breaks him instantly. Sobbing and begging for his life, the thug confesses everything, crying out that the mastermind is actually the son of the first hospital's director. Desperate to live, he yells out the client's name, Jin Duoxin. By 5 o'clock that evening, the rich kid is lounging at a lavish pool party atop the Purple Peak Tower, totally clueless that his thugs already sold him out. His rich friends tease him, laughing about how a local campus heartthrob got rejected twice by some junior girl. Jin Duoxin fumes, silently, swearing that she made an absolute fool of him, and promising himself that she will regret every single second of it tonight. Sick of the teasing, he snaps at a girl trying to follow him and storms off toward the restroom to clear his head. But while he is at the urinal, the lights begin to flicker and buzz, instantly catching his attention. Growling in frustration, he curses his luck even the damn power grid is plotting against him tonight. A shadow looms. Suddenly, Jin Duoxin spins around to find Chen standing right behind him. Chen calmly asks, "Are you the guy named Jin Duoxin?" Down in the surveillance room, the guards gossip about how these rich kids rented out the whole top floor and turned off all the cameras for privacy. One guard leans in, whispering a dark rumor that many of the girls up there were actually forced to attend, that they were lured straight into a trap. Shocked by this, the other guard can barely believe his ears, but the informant confirms it, explaining that not long ago, a pretty young student took her own life after being brutally abused at one of these parties, only for those wealthy parents to bury the whole scandal under a massive mountain of hush money. He warns his colleague never to be fooled by their expensive clothes and pretty faces, because behind closed doors, these spoiled heirs are just straight-up animals. Meanwhile, back in the restroom, Jin Do-wook totally panics, demanding to know exactly who this random intruder is, threatening to call the police and have him thrown out immediately. But instead of replying, Chen calmly pulls out a phone and dials a number. Jin Do-wook freezes in pure terror as he sees his own phone suddenly ringing with an incoming call from his mercenary contact, Blackie. Holding the mercenary's phone, Chen glares. Cold, silent, confirming that Jin Do-wook is indeed the very one who ordered the hit on his sister. Horrified, Jin Do-wook demands to know what happened to Blackie, but his only answer is Chen, effortlessly crushing the phone to pieces with crackling lightning. Petrified, the spoiled heir backs away. He screams for this monster to stay back, desperately begging to know who he is dealing with. Then, in a flash, Chen strikes. He launches Jin Do-wook straight through the heavy glass window of the restroom. Shattered shards rain down as the spoiled heir plunges all the way to the pool deck below. Bleeding and heavily bruised on the hard floor, Jin Do-wook frantically shrieks for help, begging for anyone at all to save him. He looks toward the pool and oh man, talk about a nightmare. Every single guest is already floating face down or slumped over unconscious. Chen steps out onto the deck, completely enveloped in a dark, ominous aura. Desperate to escape, Jin Do-wook crawls backward on his hands and knees, cursing in absolute panic. Glaring up at his pursuer's glowing eyes, he screams, demanding to know who he is, what he did to deserve this, and why he is even being hunted. He tries to play his very last card, loudly boasting about his father's powerful status as the director of the first hospital. The heir screams that if Chen touches him, his powerful father will use every ounce of his influence to bury him. Sick of these useless warnings, Chen coldly orders Jin Duoxian to shut his mouth. With a sudden flicker of hypnosis, he completely takes over his mind. Under the spell's absolute control, Jin Duoxian drops directly to his knees. Looking down on his newly made puppet, Chen commands him to pick up a jagged shard of broken glass. As his hand reaches down to grip that shard, you realize that the worst kinds of monsters do not just hide inside dungeons. They walk among us in the daylight every single day. This monster and his crew did horrible things to an innocent, defenseless classmate. These rich punks used their family fortune to bury the truth, eventually pushing that poor girl to take her own life in absolute despair. After that terrible tragedy, using their family power, they made sure not a single drop of blame would ever stick to their clean hands. Jin Duoxian went as far as faking the autopsy to make it look like a tragic accident, bragging that money buys absolute power. He is the very same trash who paid a massive bounty to those hired goons, telling them to ruin Si Yun's life completely. But this time, he made the biggest mistake of his life by going after our main character's sister. Squeezing that sharp shard under hypnotic control, he slowly lifts the broken glass, right to his own neck. Chen promises to hunt down and destroy anyone who dares threaten his sister, even if he has to become the ultimate executioner. He will walk through absolute darkness without a single trace of hesitation. None at all. Then, he gives the final order to end it. Standing victorious, Chen looks down at his bleeding rival, Gong Ting. Right after their brutal tiebreaker clash inside that wild dungeon, he quietly tells him that the boss is down and the gate is open, warning him to stay awake until help finally arrives. Gong Ting swears that the moment they escape this place, he will make things right. He wants to tell everyone the truth, but guys, there is absolutely no time for a victory lap right now. His danger senses suddenly flare up, and sharing a vision with his beast, Leo, he spots something absolutely terrifying. That creepy mercenary, Blackie, is closing in on his sister. She is cornered. Knowing she is in deep trouble, he triggers his Stellar Tamer power, Stellar Warp, burning through his mana to instantly teleport out of the cave. Gong Ting is left staring at the empty air in absolute shock. Realizing that Chen isn't just a simple double-class user but actually runs multiple classes, he wonders what other deep secrets his rival is keeping hidden. Suddenly, heavy footsteps echo nearby as Director Gong Xuan bursts into the cave alongside a squad of medical healers. Shouting frantically to save the kids, the rescue crew rushes straight down to reach the injured Gong Ting. As they cast high-level spells to patch his wounds, Gong Xuan approaches to evaluate the damage, looking at his heavily beaten student. Gong Xuan breaks out in a cold sweat, realizing the dungeon master had a terrifying rank B rating. He warns the boy that surviving a fight with a beast that strong is a total miracle. Nearby, other medics check on the remaining survivors, confirming that Sato Woda is stable and completely cleansed. While she is out of physical danger, a deeply traumatized Jasmine just mumbles about the absolute nightmares she went through. That's when the director notices Chen is gone. Failing to find him, the director assumes the kids simply got terrified and bolted, ordering his men to search the entire area. Enraged, Gong Xuan puts the entire blame for this mess on the useless inspection agency. He snaps that his students' injuries are entirely on them, swearing to get every single lazy inspector fired the second they get back. Meanwhile, Gong Ting's scheming father, Gong Lin, looks around the bloody cave, and he smiles. He instantly starts drafting a cover-up, painting this as a random monster surge that the lazy examiners failed to manage. His plan is to announce to the public that his brave son stepped forward to save the day when everything went south. Feeling incredibly guilty about stealing the spotlight, Gong Ting tries to speak up, wanting to tell the truth about who actually killed the boss. But his father shuts him down instantly, pressing his hand directly onto the boy's freshly wrapped shoulder wound, sending a heavy surge of pain through him. He whispers a dark threat, telling the boy to take the glory while the witnesses stay quiet out of fear. He coldly commands his son to clean himself up, reminding him that at tomorrow's graduation, he will be praised as the school's ultimate champion. Later that night at the apartment, things are way more positive. Sharing a warm dinner, Jutong happily congratulates Si Yun for crushing her endurance exams and getting into that ultra-exclusive art academy. She is absolutely ecstatic for her best friend, celebrating that Si Yun is finally pursuing her passion and heading straight for global success. Meanwhile, Chen casually sips his soda with a completely blank face. Seeing him so unfazed, a pouting Si Yun asks why he looks so bored, almost like he already knew she would pass. He flashes a quick smile, promising her that he really is happy, but in reality, he remembers that in his past life, she got her acceptance letter on this exact day. Juton admits she is super jealous, since studying in the elite city of Sanhaven is a rare dream for normal folks. Still, Si Yun worries about how far away Sanhaven is and how expensive it is. Seeing her hesitate, Chen speaks up, telling her to totally forget about money or any other worries. Setting his soda down, he calmly announces that as soon as he graduates, he will join her in Sanhaven. This news completely stuns both of them. They jump up, demanding to know how he got recruited by a Sanhaven guild when those elite groups only hire top-tier geniuses. Siyun cheers, thrilled they can move together, while Jutong keeps whining about how jealous she is, joking that she will have to study extra hard to catch up later. Watching his sister celebrate, Chen smiles warmly, silently swearing that in this life, she will never have to sacrifice her dreams again. Later that night, Chen washes away his exhaustion in a quiet shower, reflecting on his recent wins. His sister's stalkers are gone, and that exhausting graduation exam is finally done. Best of all, his secret deal with Gong Ting is going perfectly. Here's the play: letting his rival take the credit gets him that $1 million prize tomorrow, clearing his family's debts. But relaxing in his room, he knows he can't get comfortable. He thinks about the Demon King, Wrath. If the Overlord was sealed immediately upon entering our world, the timeline is totally warped. His original 3-year countdown to the apocalypse is now completely up in the air. Knowing where that seal was, he would break it himself to end this threat early, making finding Wrath his top priority so he can reach Sanhaven fast. But to fight a Demon King, he needs a strong, trustworthy ally first. Fortunately, tomorrow's graduation ceremony is the perfect place to recruit the exact partner he needs. Meanwhile, in a quiet tea room, Student Council Vice President Ling Yu meets with Carl Cavendish. He is the vice chairman of the World Guild Alliance. She reports a rogue awaker called the Glutton in Everfield County, instantly catching Carl's eye. Ling Yu explains she rushed to the scene, but the security cameras were already wiped. The only clues left were fresh blood and scratch marks, matching the killer's habit of shredding and consuming victims. She warns Carl that this monster specifically targets elite, top-tier individuals with rare, powerful abilities, and the power level of the victims rises with every single attack. This means the killer is absorbing their strength, rapidly evolving by devouring stronger and stronger targets. Ling Yu warns that the glutton never stops once he picks an area and another attack is coming soon. Carl just smirks, finding the timing highly interesting. Sliding a new file across the table, Ling Yu adds that the glutton's latest attack happened in an alley inside a pretty poor neighborhood. Unbelievable, right? The murder scene is less than 100 meters away from Sai Chen's own apartment. Even though they have 0 photos of the glutton, Ling Yu knows Si Chen's strength is growing impossibly fast. But before she can finish, Carl smirks, suggesting that this power-devouring monster is actually Si Chen himself. At the academy, Yuan Long's assistant asks why he's skipping graduation for the very kids he helped raise. Yuan Long smiles, explaining he only wanted to give them a safe harbor when they were weak, but now they have finally grown up. With that, he releases his birds out the window, muttering that it is time for them to find their own paths. But he notices one stubborn bird lingering in the cage, leaving him wondering where it truly wants to go. Over at the massive graduation hall, Mao Long and Shang Zuo stare in awe, realizing the academy went all out to welcome these big-shot guild leaders. Mao Long wonders how Si Chen and Gong Ting did in their secret trial, and as they discuss the academy's strict rules, Mao Long proudly brags that Lu Shang definitely crushed the competition. But suddenly, Gong Ting's brother, Gong Chong, tells him to shut up and stop hyping up Si Chen. Laughing, he claims Si Chen has 0 chance, insisting that his own brother, Gong Ting, is guaranteed to walk away as the champion. Annoyed by his arrogance, the group starts trading thumbs down and petty insults back and forth. Deep backstage at this massive event, Gong Lin looks around and notices that literally every top-tier guild in the country has sent a representative. With the full board of the famous Imperial Guild showing up, the crowd outside is practically buzzing to catch a glimpse of these legends. Soon enough, Imperial Guild co-founder Guan Yuan and founder Titan Ming make their entrance to greet the VIP guests, making Gong Lin immediately start plotting his next move for the board election. He is planning to use this massive stage to win over those undecided board members and finally break his dead-even vote tie. If this works out, Gong Lin is guaranteed to finally secure that highly coveted chairman seat for himself. He assures his son, Gong Ting, that Carl Cavendish, the vice chairman of the World Guild Alliance, will personally hand him the champion trophy, kickstarting their rise to the absolute top of the world. But he gives Gong Ting a harsh warning not to mess this up, telling him to go out, deliver a flawless speech, and show everyone his true worth. Feeling completely crushed under his father's suffocating pressure, Gong Ting stays silent, clenching his fists until his suit sleeves wrinkle. Right on cue, the host walks onto the main stage to kick off the highly anticipated 2157th National Awakener University graduation. The moment she announces the final exam is officially over, Ma Long and the twins in the audience instantly cheer with excitement. With the board and the school officials finally seated, this legendary graduation ceremony officially begins. The entire hall explodes into massive applause, and while Gong Ting sits there in rigid silence, Si Chen simply watches the drama unfold. Next, The announcer steps up to officially read off the scores from this year's grueling final assessment. She points directly to the gleaming gold trophy sitting right there, waiting for the ultimate champion. She then introduces the guest presenter, inviting Carl Cavendish, the vice chairman of the Global Guild Alliance, to step forward. Under the bright spotlights and roaring applause, Carl Cavendish steps up to present the Champion Award, starting off by thanking the Imperial Guild for inviting him, calling it a real honor to witness Easternia's next generation of top-tier talent. Then, he hooks everyone's attention by hinting that something completely unexpected went down during the final test, catching Ma Long and the twins totally off guard. He drops a total bombshell, revealing that the easy, low-level dungeon picked for the exam was actually a highly dangerous, disguised B-rank threat. This crazy news immediately sends a massive wave of panic through the crowd, with everyone whispering that even pro teams struggle inside B-rank dungeons, wondering how on earth these students survived. But get this, Carl Cavendish explains that when all hope seemed totally lost, one heroic student used flawless skill to pull off the absolute impossible. He reveals that this lone powerhouse single-handedly took down the B-rank boss and brought his entire team back alive. While a completely relaxed Chen and a tense Gong Ting listen from the crowd, Carl Cavendish gets ready to announce the strongest graduate. He raises his hand high, officially crowning Gong Ting as the undisputed champion of the graduating class. Confetti rains down all over the stage as a stone-faced Gong Ting stands up to accept the roaring cheers. Meanwhile, Ma Long and Shang Zuo are completely losing their minds, convinced the school must have rigged the results to cheat Chen. Seeing them complain, Gong Chan immediately starts gloating, rubbing the win in their faces and bragging that his brother is just built different. The surrounding students are left in total awe, whispering that soloing a B-rank dungeon is on a completely different level compared to what they went through. The entire crowd keeps going wild, showering Gong Ting with endless praise for his incredible strength and sharp looks. As Gong Ting slowly walks up the stage steps, a relaxed Chen silently watches him from the crowd. Gong Ting looks back and immediately remembers their secret deal in that dark cave, where Chen offered him first place for the $1 million prize. He vividly remembers Chen's only condition to never tell a single soul about his hidden demonic class transformation. You've got to wonder, back in the present, Chen watches quietly, curious to see how his rival handles the stolen spotlight. But as he stands right before the massive crowd, Gong Ting is haunted by his father's cold warning to give a flawless speech and prove his worth. The announcer warmly welcomes Gong Ting up to the microphone to deliver his official champion speech. The crowd instantly falls in love with his vibe, praising his calm and highly dignified look, calling him a true hero in the making. They whisper that he is a worthy heir to the legendary Gong family with a limitless future, making a proud Gong Lin smile. Staring down at his notes, he bitterly wonders if this stolen glory is really all he is actually worth. He starts by agreeing with the vice chairman about those heroic rumors, surviving a brutal trap, protecting his squad, and destroying the boss. But then comes the real shocker. None of those legendary feats were actually his, it was all Chen. This sudden, unbelievable confession catches everyone completely off guard, leaving both Chen and Carl speechless. Gong Lin utterly loses it. He fumes with pure rage, watching his own son throw away their family's carefully manufactured glory. Over on the side, Gong Chang panics, screaming in disbelief at his brother's decision while nearby students whisper. Gong Ting pushes on, explaining that the entire exam was a disaster. The proctors were not cold, leaving only him and Chen to face the threat. He praises Chen as a brilliant lightning assassin, a monster prodigy who cleared waves of high-level beasts using raw instinct. Watching his rival fight showed him what peak strength truly looks like, admitting he had never seen power like that before. So he crowns Chen the rightful champion. Luckily, our hero's secret demonic dual class remains safe. Panic sweeps the arena. The crowd immediately questions the Academy's integrity, wondering if the entire exam was rigged from day one. But Carl does not get mad. He just smirks, deeply amused by the sudden drama. Seizing the opening, Ma Long and Shang Zuo demand a full investigation. No way, this was fair. Meanwhile, the elite founders sit in stunned silence, processing this massive wrench in their carefully planned event. Guan Yuan immediately demands answers from Gong Lin, stating the public deserves an explanation for this absolute disaster. Refusing to face public humiliation, Gong Lin scoffs and storms out of the ceremony, leaving the chaos behind. Standing alone on stage, Gong Ting rips up his prepared speech, determined to stop letting his father dictate his life. Back in his office, Principal Yuan Long watches his caged bird fly away, a perfect mirror of Gong Ting taking control of his own path. Watching it soar freely, the old principal smiles, happy that his student has finally found his own direction. Gong Ting concedes this round to Chen with a competitive smirk, promising to win next time. But first, we need to look at how guilds actually work. See, the global network of thousands of guilds is divided into 5 tiers, from peak down to standard. Peak guilds are the absolute best, while elite guilds are the limit for strong awakeners, and only 12 exist globally, including the Imperial Guild. Down on the hiring floor, standard graduates are practically begging corporate recruiters to look at their resumes. Unfortunately, the Divine Eye Guild immediately shuts them down, saying they are not hiring support classes and telling them to leave. In this brutal market, average grads struggle to get a single offer, but everything changes if an elite guild invites you. Soon after, the Imperial Guild's HR manager, Charleston, hands an acceptance certificate to Ma Long, welcoming him to their prestigious ranks. The twins, Shang Zuo and Shang Yu, celebrate their spots in research, while a terrified Ma Long panics over his combat unit assignment. Stepping inside the massive headquarters, the group can barely contain their excitement about joining one of the 12 elite guilds in the world. Nearby, other classmates watch with bitter regret, kicking themselves for refusing to join Si Chen's squad when they had the chance. Even Gong Cheng fumes, dreading the fact that he will have to see these exact same people at work every single day. Meanwhile, inside the executive elevator, Titan Ming asks about recruitment, learning that the double perfect scores forced them to expand their intake this year. When the doors slide open to reveal Carl, Titan Ming greets the vice chairman warmly and asks if he is visiting recruitment, too. Carl reveals he came to personally see someone off. This makes Titan Ming realize that the Alliance leader is keeping a very close eye on their new recruit. Carl laughs. The Imperial Guild snagged a monster talent and got incredibly lucky this season. Back at registration, Charleston scans his database and notices that one final candidate has not submitted his papers. Annoyed, the manager calls out Ma Long, demanding to know why their star rookie, Si Chen, is stalling everyone. Realizing his leader is indeed missing, Ma Long frantically scans the crowd, calling for his friend in a panic. Right then, Si Chen casually strolls back from a bathroom break, only to get yelled at by his stressed crew. Seeing this delay, Charleston grumbles under his breath about cocky rookies playing hard to get. He reminds the young graduate that even the top scorer must follow the rules, ordering him to sign. Without blinking an eye, Si Chen smoothly declares that he has absolutely no intention of joining the Imperial Guild, throwing his teammates into an instant, wild panic. This shockwave of a rejection completely paralyzes his arrogant classmate Gong Cheng, leaving him utterly speechless. The entire hall erupts as graduates and top guild leaders alike struggle to process why any sane awakener would pass up a golden ticket like this. Slapping his desk in rage, Charleston screams that they literally carved out a prestigious senior position just for him, a dream opportunity that veteran hunters would gladly die for. But Si Chen coolly points out he never actually agreed to join, leaving the recruiter fuming and demanding to know why he even showed up. Seeing all the commotion, Carl Cavendish steps forward, perfectly capitalizing on the chaos as the crowd immediately recognizes the legendary Titan standing before them. Stunned, the graduates quickly bow, wondering what could bring the World Alliance vice chairman all the way to a registration desk. And check this out, Carl walks right up to Si Chen, offering an alternative to the Imperial Guild and asking him to move to Sandhaven instead. He even offers to handpick Si Chen for the Ember Star Knights, a move that completely blindsides both Gong Ting and Titan Ming. Instantly, the crowd loses their minds at the mention of the Ember Star Knights, a legendary name usually reserved for massive global headlines. Whispers spread that there are only 6 peak guilds in the entire world, rumored to wield enough devastating power to wipe out a whole country. Plus, these god-tier organizations never recruit publicly, relying strictly on private invitations and high-level referrals. Yet, totally unbothered by this golden ticket, Si Chen calmly declines, explaining that he actually came here to recruit members for his very own organization. Hearing this, Ma Long and the twins instantly freeze. Their friend already has his own group. Ripping the card away, Charleston scoffs at the idea of a rookie running a startup, reading the name Black Raven Guild aloud with absolute disdain. He barks that registering a new guild is heavily restricted, insanely expensive, and requires a high-tier formal recommendation that a fresh graduate could never obtain. The recruiter sneers, demanding to know how a kid straight out of academy with zero backing could have ever made this happen. But suddenly, the receptionist chimes in, confirming that their official database lists the Black Raven Guild as a fully legitimate organization, leaving Charleston frozen in sheer disbelief. Registered back on May 18th, approved on June 18th, with Si Chen listed as its official legal representative. Hearing the dates, Gong Ting quickly calculates the timeline in his head and gets completely thrown off by it. It dawns on him that Si Chen was already building his own private organization an entire month before their final graduation exam even kicked off. Suddenly, the pieces fall into place. Si Chen only went after the tournament prize cash to bankroll his startup, not for the petty glory of first place. From day one, the almighty Imperial Guild was never even on his radar because his eyes were entirely fixed on launching his own powerhouse. Just look at this calm graduate. The recruiters realize that Si Chen never needed their approval because he operates on a completely different level than them. Carl chuckles, thinking that Si Chen and his sister really are cut from the exact same cloth, both sharing that fiercely stubborn, independent streak. Chen then points out that a registered guild needs at least 2 members to run dungeons, noting his group currently only has him. Turning straight to his rival, Chen hands over a registration card, inviting Gong Ting to be the very first member of the Black Raven Guild. Just a week before graduation, Chen met with Qingju at the Mithril Exchange to drop 2 massive bombs. First, he requested a 1-week extension on his debt because tying for first place in his exams meant he missed out on the full cash prize, leaving him 500,000 short. But wait, that money issue was nothing compared to his second update, which was far more terrifying. He revealed that he actually regressed 10 years from the apocalyptic future, explaining that a legion of incredibly powerful demon kings would eventually lay waste to the entire world, leaving him as the sole surviving hero. Chen then described how the apocalypse first began, detailing how the Demon King Wrath unleashed devastating energy waves to tear the planet apart. He explained that a brilliant, legendary inventor named Qingju stepped up to save humanity by creating and donating a special defensive artifact known as the Stillstone. Thanks to this masterpiece, humanity managed to survive Wrath's apocalyptic waves, buying survivors enough time to regroup, gather their forces, and fight back. Hearing this, Qingju leaped up. Absolute shock. The Stillstone was designed to block wave magic. Yes, the device was currently just an unshared idea inside his own head, proving that Chen was absolutely telling the truth. Without missing a beat, Chen invited the genius Qingju to join his squad. On June 26, after receiving the full debt payment, Qingju happily returned Chen's signature weapon inside the Mithril Exchange archive room. To pay off the interest, Chen pulls a pouch of rare materials from his inventory, dropping premium loot like poison cage, ant legs, mantis spikes, and rare snake gall onto the table. Qingji is absolutely thrilled by the quality and praises his partner, but Chen casually shrugs it off, explaining he was in a rush and could only grab those few items. Xingzhou asks about Black Raven recruitment. Chen just sighs his top candidate completely rejected the offer. This surprises Qingji. He figured this setback would delay Chen's big move to the elite city of Sunhaven. Yet, Chen reveals he is actually speeding up his timeline, explaining his original plan to save the world had 3 phases. Phase 1 was simple, build a basic rookie guild from scratch. Phase 2 meant leveling it up to gold status, gaining access to challenge S-rank dungeons. Finally, he plans to head to Sunhaven, find the dungeon holding the Demon King of Wrath, and take him down early. But recent events ruined his calculations, and Chen warns Wrath might have already appeared much sooner than in his past life. So, he must reach Sunhaven immediately and find allies after arriving, leaving Qingji amazed at how crazy this situation is getting. Eager to help, Qingji reaches into his pocket and pulls out a small digital music player, hoping his quick prep can turn the tide. He explains that a producer friend made a catchy track with a specific beta frequency, even partnering with global superstar Michael Bruno. The pop star drops the track as a lead single, spreading that frequency across the globe in less than a week. Since this specific frequency can completely neutralize Wrath's mind-controlling ripples, broadcasting the track is their most effective defense system on such short notice. Chen is stunned his partner built a global defense in just 7 days, while Qingji simply adjusts his glasses, proud to help stop the apocalypse. But get this, his genius partner is not even done yet. Qingji reveals another surprise, using his storage ring to project a custom smartwatch onto Chen's wrist, explaining it tracks S-rank threats and their past locations. He proudly explains that this unique prototype will be the ultimate tool for hunting down Wrath before the invasion even begins. Chen is shocked that the radar easily outperforms his own system, realizing his new partner is a total genius who built a revolutionary tracking device in just 1 week. Qingji admits he wishes he had the combat power of an Awakener to fight on the battlefield directly. Chen quickly reassures him, calling his tech support invaluable and promising to handle all the fighting himself. Still, Chen remains on high alert, knowing Wrath is merely the vanguard of the coming invasion, and resolves to gather more intel on the Demon King. Later that night, inside a rainy hospital, the spoiled heir Jin Duoxin is locked in a padded cell, a drooling mess from Chen's hypnosis, as his furious father, Ronald Jin, watches. The furious old man demands to know who dared to shatter his family's pride and ruin his only son. He then orders a squad of elite, top-tier A-rank Awakeners to hunt down the culprit by any means and make them pay. Accepting the gig, the lead assassin reveals a glowing energy blade hidden in his umbrella, confidently promising to bring back the culprit's head today. Suddenly, an oppressive pressure rattles the room, forcing the director to his knees as he vomits from the sheer pain. As heavy footsteps shake the floor, the elite mercenaries instantly sense an incredibly powerful presence heading straight toward them. When the monster approaches the door, the hunters ready their elemental powers and firearms, bracing for a brutal fight. Suddenly, the demon manifests right inside the room, grinning as it announces it is time to feed, revealing itself as Voraloon, the Demon King of Gluttony. Awakener powers are split into 5 core classes. First up is the Warrior, built to lead the charge and absorb heavy damage on the front lines. Next is the Assassin class, relying on pure speed to flank enemies and finish off targets in a flash. Then comes the Mage, specializing in battlefield control and unleashing massive magic damage from a safe distance. Supporting them is the Chanter, keeping the party alive by removing debuffs and constantly boosting everyone's stats. But wait, there's a 5th core class that stands completely alone, operating on its own rules. This offensive class abandons defense entirely, trading personal safety for the highest raw destructive power in the system. Chen lands in the volcanic depths of the 2nd floor, ready to face the Dread Spire Overlord, a monster wielding the deadly destructive power of the Archer class. As he dodges plasma beams in the volcanic cavern, Chen tracks the trajectory of the last shot to find the sniper's hiding spot. He realizes that although the boss's ranged attacks are pretty incredibly powerful, it has to recharge between shots, giving him a tiny window to strike right before that tail rustles in the distance. Seeing his chance, Chen charges with his lightning dagger ready to end this beast in one strike, but he realizes too late that it is all a trap. Suddenly, the monster unleashes a blinding beam of light that triggers a massive, devastating explosion, and Chen jolts awake in his bed, gasping for air after returning from the Void Tower. Still shaken, he can only curse that sneaky monster. Stretching after her long night, Si-yoon finds her brother slumped on the couch looking like a complete zombie, while the little cub, Leo, dozes on his chest. She asks if he slept at all, and Chen admits he was out hunting and ran into some serious trouble. When she asks what exactly he was after, he quickly brushes it off and tells her to just forget about it. Instead, he casually shifts the topic to their big upcoming move, planning to head over to Sand Haven in a few days, right after they perform next week's memorial rites for their parents. Si-yoon wonders why he has to leave so early, but he explains that he wants to get there first to set up their new home. Deep down, though, he must speed up to beat the looming apocalypse. Seeing his sister happily cuddling the cub, he feels pretty relieved. Knowing Leo is there to protect her makes this temporary separation way easier to bear. But get this one, dangerous flaw still weighs heavily on his mind. Under certain conditions, his psychic link with Leo completely cuts off. He remembers how his connection went silent the second the gate slammed shut in the deepest part of that wild dungeon. That mental connection only came back once he successfully defeated the Overlord and forced those dungeon gates to swing wide open again. This scary vulnerability chills him, especially when he remembers just how close he came to failing during his rescue of Si-yoon. If his victory over that boss had been delayed by even 30 seconds, his sister and her companion would have been slaughtered by those ruthless mercenaries. So before he sets off, Chen asks Si-yoon if he can borrow Leo for his trip to Sandhaven. This sudden request catches both Si-yoon and the little cub completely off guard. You see, dungeons here are highly competitive because clearing them yields incredibly valuable resources. Due to this, the government auctions off clearance rights for newly discovered dungeons, turning high-rank locations into multi-million-dollar bidding wars. Wealthy, elite guilds quickly bid absolute fortunes to monopolize all of these high-ranked dungeons. While the major players snap up the prime zones, the low-tier remnants are left behind for the public, forcing independent non-guild teams to fight over the leftovers. Inside a small street-level office, a minor party leader complains about barely winning a D-rank dungeon license, even though his companion warns him to be grateful since they haven't had work in months. Needing to fill out their roster, the leader sends his recruiter into the streets to hire a warrior for their upcoming raid. Since strict government regulations forbid entering any dungeon with fewer than 2 people, unaffiliated awakeners who can't join proper guilds gather at local markets to form desperate temporary teams just to get by. At the market, a desperate E-rank nuclear chanter named Tanaka Daiki pitches his weapon heating support skills to a potential team. But wait, the recruiter girl carrying a spiked bat immediately shoves him away, shouting that she only wants a warrior and has zero use for a weak support class. Walking right past the commotion, Chen realizes the only way to ensure Si-yoon's safety is to take Leo into a dungeon to gain combat experience and level up. Since his new guild doesn't have any dungeon rights yet, and his private dream spire is way too dangerous for a young cub, he has to find a team in the public market. Putting on glasses and using a fake E-rank stellar tamer identity under the alias Ashton Lee, he registers alongside a hooded Leo, fully prepared to blend in with the rookies and hopefully secure a spot in a party.